Howdy ho, Sifters! It's GameFace, episode 60. It is going to be a really big and really good episode tonight. Obviously, we're going to talk about No Man's Sky, the big release of the week. And I would even maybe argue the biggest release of the year so far.
Maybe.
I would say maybe the most important release of the year.
Certainly, maybe the most talked about.
Oh, certainly. And we're going to definitely dedicate a ton of time to No Man's Sky, so don't fret at all. Otherwise, slow as hell this week in the games industry, though. Mm-hmm. There really is nothing going on. That's going to end pretty quickly, though. And I've been saying that for weeks, it seems like. But I just got code for Madden today. I got code for Deus Ex today. So the big stuff is coming. I'm about to get on it, and we're going to talk about one of those on the show today. As far as little housekeeping stuff, let's see. Today, Nintendo filed a patent for Snap-on controllers.
Yeah, imagine that.
Yeah, looks like it's all those leaks that came out last week are legit. I'm kind of trying to, and today really for me, I think when I saw that today, I was like, okay, those leaks were legit. And I thought they were legit anyway because they were coming from Europe and from people who have had good leaks before. But today, I finally accepted that this is what the NX is, and I'm having a tough time maybe coming to grips with that. I really hope it's a Tegra X2 chip. The more I'm thinking about having to play games that look like what we've seen for the Tegra X1, I'm not particularly happy about it. I get the business decision there. I mean, it's all about mobile, particularly in Japan. I mean,
you got to move forward a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's really Nintendo's only chance to ever turn a profit in Japan at this point, because sales are so far down there. It's like the best-selling game every week is lucky to hit 100K sales at this point in Japan. The market there is just crushed unless you're doing mobile. So I totally understand Nintendo's business acumen and how they're handling this, but selfishly, I certainly wish that NX had a little bit more oomph to it at this point. But it is what it is. So I brought in a couple shirts today for these guys. Should we show them?
Yeah, we probably should.
Okay, we'll show them one. So before we show you the shirt, I'm going to say there are 3 different designs, and one design has just one color scheme, and then 2 of the designs have 2 different color schemes you'll be able to choose from. And so the shirt that Matt's going to show you right now is one of the designs that has 2 different color schemes. I'm not going to tell you what the schemes are, though, other than obviously the one you're going to see now. So that's the front of the shirt. I don't know if you can see it on camera in 720p, but it's like a shimmery silver screen print on the front. And you want to show them the back? And then there's the back. It says premium video game website, sifted.net. So that's your
very
first.
Soft.
Yeah, they are really soft shirts. I made sure that we got really good shirts, really expensive shirts. I'm really, really happy with how they came out. In fact, that design is not my favorite design, by the way. I like it, but there's another design that I like way more. And then there's a design that's just for elites that when I set them in to get the shirts done, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like this. And then when I saw the first shirt, I was like, oh my God, that's awesome. So I think you guys are going to be really stoked on all the shirts. We still have to build the store. Unfortunately, I kind of hate to tease you guys with these because you can't buy them yet for a while. But I do want to get you guys hyped about them, and I wanted you to look at them and see kind of the quality that they're at, and hopefully you guys like them. So anyway, let's cut the BS, and let's get to the Big 6.
Technically, the Big 6 is also the BS.
Yeah, that's a good point. You never should have shared that. You're going to be bringing that up until the day I die now. The Big 6 is BS. It's just going to be a meme or something. I can see it coming.
I'm surprised we haven't thought of that in a year and a half.
Yeah, it's pretty sad.
Should have been brought up in the concept meeting, frankly.
Yeah, so let's see. So today, Titanfall 2, there was a big preview event here in LA. The embargo broke today. And so today, all the information about the campaign came out. Next week, all the multiplayer stuff's going to come out, but I think we kind of know what Titanfall multiplayer is. I think the debut trailer they showed for Titanfall kind of gave that up anyway. We kind of saw all the cool new features.
And the grappling hook and all that, yeah.
And so the campaign stuff came out today. Matt, did you get a chance to kind of read it? A
little bit. I watched the videos. I watched that one video with the guy doing the commentary on them and stuff. It's certainly, I mean, it looks like it looks like a campaign with giant robots made by the people who did Modern Warfare 2. I mean, I got you, and like he kept talking about like, oh, it's not all like crazy action. Like, well, that's the other thing. The thing I always liked about them when they were Infinity Ward was they know, unlike Treyarch, they know how and when to make an action game breathe.
They did at least.
They
I
did.
don't know if they still do.
I don't know if they still do. I mean, they haven't made a campaign since Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah.
So it's been a long time, but they've always been good at like knowing that it.
Well, no, they made a campaign for Ghosts.
Well,
Infinity
not
Ward.
these guys though.
Oh, you mean the Respawn?
The people,
guys.
the Respawn people who made Infinity Ward what it was when
Right.
Infinity Ward was what it was before the Activision.
So I think some of the guys
nonsense.
stuck around at Activision and
There were
worked
some,
on
yeah,
Ghosts
but
for a little bit, and then a lot of them ended up eventually going over to Respawn.
Well, I think most of the remnants were on Modern Warfare 3.
Yeah,
And then
I guess you're right.
everybody moved over to. I think the people who were going to move over, and so. But by that point, even Modern Warfare 3 showed that like they didn't have a lot of their key people anymore.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, there was definitely a drop off in quality there.
So I'm excited to play a campaign by these guys again, and like I know, there's like that weird sort of angle they're taking on establishing that bond between the mech and the pilot, and like there's sort of that thing where like the pilot's asking like, so when did you bond with whatever, da, da, da. And whatever character I presume dies, and you take the Titan, and the Titan's like, it's like I bonded with Corporal whatever 979 days ago. I'm just and he's like oh, as long as any of my relationships have lasted. It's like hey-o, and the robot's like noted, and I'm like okay, that's one way to take this.
So the campaign, Matt kind of gave you a quick synopsis there, but basically what it is you play as like a grunt, like you're a low-ranked sort of soldier who has no chance of becoming a pilot of one of the mechs.
Yeah, it's a pure underdog story.
Right,
kind of thing.
and so he stumbles across one of the mechs, and the pilot is basically dying inside, and so he's left with no choice but to take over the mech, and thus starts.
I also got to say, watching this, like this is the first like video game footage that isn't No Man's Sky I've looked at in like 6 days, and I'm like, wow, that looks really good.
Yeah.
I forgot they can look like that.
Yeah, you can have that much detail and everything in a video game world. No, you're absolutely right. Like I'm like you. I've played that game now for 30 plus hours or whatever, and that's pretty much all I've done since we finished this show, because we were fortunate enough to get the game way early.
Yeah, we got it Friday.
Yeah, we've been playing it for quite a while.
So I'll tell you, like, we'll get to it when we get there.
We'll get to it, yeah.
It's been an odyssey.
It sure has, yeah. So, what do you think of the setup, Matt? It's like a buddy cop, like...
I mean, look, I don't care. Like, just give me some story in this universe.
Yeah.
Like, that's fine. But, like, I think it's a smart way to sort of, like, get you introduced and sort of, there's also some decision making, like some dialogue choices.
So there's dialogue, like binary dialogue choices. Basically, be the nice guy or be the jerk.
Right.
It's like one or the other.
And but it's kind of a nice way to ease you into the idea of how to become like a Titan pilot without like doing the standard like expected. Oh, you're a rookie pilot, and now you go through training, and now you have to do this, and now like because the thing you've done in every damn military shooter ever and every tutorial ever. So like this kind of like making his inexperience with the mech part of the story in the sense that like, oh, it's just kind of this weird one-off situation, like makes it a more interesting idea, I think.
And what you're seeing here is that, so you don't play the whole campaign with the mech. There are parts where you break off and you're just on foot, like what you're seeing here. And but I kind of like that idea, because I feel like if you were the mech the whole time, like, what fun would it be? Unless you were fighting other mechs the whole time, it's like you kind of lose that feeling of power if you're just stomping people with the mech all the time. So I could see a scenario where you're playing on foot for a while, where the combat's tough. Then you get that moment where you get in the mech, and you just suddenly, these enemies you're having problems fighting, you just smash. And you get that big feeling of, like, power that it's like you were saying before. You have to have, like, the peaks and the valleys.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just becomes tone deaf.
Yeah, and of course the getting in and out of the mech, gameplay loop is, like, kind of Titanfall's whole thing.
Yeah.
So, a lot of games don't let you do that. MechWarrior doesn't let you get out, and that's a cool thing. And, of course, the fact that they're AI controlled, so you kind of they have a personality apparently, and they can autonomously sort of watch your back. There's a lot of cool situations I can see them coming up with for that.
One thing I'm not seeing in the campaign, though, is the grappling hook. Like, I wonder if the grappling hook will be a part of the campaign. I mean, you look at Call of Duty games, like, you don't get the same loadout in campaign as you do in multiplayer typically, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's not in the campaign.
I kind of call that a coin flip. Either I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't in the campaign, or I wouldn't be surprised if, like, you don't get it till later.
Yeah.
If you're gonna, I mean, Titanfall, assuming you're trying to bring in some new people with this that are, not maybe multiplayer centric, or people that didn't try it before because they don't have an Xbox One and now it's on PS4, so they haven't played Titanfall 1. Like, there's a lot of stuff to teach people here. Like, it's one of those simple to learn, hard to master kind of games in multiplayer for sure, and I'm sure it translates.
I honestly never got good at the first Titanfall. I mean, look, I got
pretty good, but I
never got to the level in that I am in like other shooters,
right,
where I can finish with like a positive KD pretty much every game.
Well, I made the mistake of playing with Abby.
Yeah.
Who just
who built the game, helped make the game. Yeah,
she helped make the game, and she was also the voice of the
Prepare for Titanfall.
The female Titan, Prepare for Titanfall. That's her, and like watching Abby play that game, even from inside the game, is just like, why am I even trying? Like, it's because I would play with some of the Respawn guys, and like it's like watching gods run around and like do these crazy things you never even thought were possible because they've been playing it so much.
Well, and
I'm
not only
I'll back you up.
Yeah, I'll pick up the scraps
in the rear with the gear.
Yeah. Well, it's one thing was that Abby helped create the game. The other thing is that she's really good at shooters too. Right. So that's just the double whammy. I mean, the Respawn guys, and they've also all played it more than anybody. Yeah. I mean, look, these guys are already gods at Titanfall 2 online. So, and that's one thing I hate about going to review events is when you have the developers decide to sit down. Like a couple of the journalists like bag out and leave, and then like a couple of the developers
fill in the
sit
slots
down
with like the QA team.
Yeah,
and well,
and you see it like immediately. Like it changes the game like in that very first match. So it'll be interesting to see. I did get some information though from Activision this week. They're not having a Call of Duty review event this year. Thank God. Yeah, they're not like cordoning people off like for 4 days like they usually do. It's just going to come to your house, and you'll be able to sit and play it in the comfort of your own home. Which is
for years and years, it's been like, come away to our retreat where we can watch you.
Well, there was the one year where they picked me up in like a helicopter at the Santa Monica airport, and we flew in a helicopter, an old like military helicopter from Santa Monica, which is like on the shore, all the way inland, like an hour and a half, and like literally after 30 minutes, I was like about ready to toss my lunch, man. Like. The fuel fumes coming in, like, because it was all, like, the doors weren't sealed, and it was just, like, air whipping in, and, like, I felt like my life was in danger. Yeah. I'm not even kidding. And then after, like, 30 or 40 minutes, I started getting queasy, and everybody was just like, why are you doing this? Like, dude, I could drive up there, like, just take people in a bus shuttle up. Like, nobody...
I love that because like I didn't go to that one. Abby went on that one when she was on X-Play, and I had gone to Modern Warfare.
I think that was Black Ops.
It was Black Ops 2. It was Black Ops.
I think it was 2.
I think it was normal Black Ops.
Was it?
Yeah,
it's for that helmet.
You have the helmet right there. It's I think it's normal Black Ops.
Yeah, I guess it is. You're right.
Because the year after, because I did Modern Warfare 2, and the Modern Warfare 2 event was like. They took us to like a resort down in like Long Beach, and like we took a bus, not a helicopter, and we go in and like there was like a robe and slippers with the Modern Warfare 2 logo. I mean, it was basically like come have a spa week and like play Modern Warfare while you're here, and it was
that's the way they always do it.
Yeah. And it's kind of...
But you have no time to do any of the spa shit.
No.
Like, it's like, all scheduled. It's like, now you go play zombies. Now you play multiplayer. And it's like, you had to use all that time to play. It is, however, exactly what when people think of like reviewers being like, bribed, basically. Like it's pretty much what you have in your head when like that kind of event is like it's exactly that. But the funny part is that the people that go to it hate it.
Yeah,
myself included.
Well, because like who has 3 days?
It's not even about the 3 days. It's like I don't want to go to a freaking resort. Like I have no interest in going to a resort. Like that's not something I do with my free time.
Well, I mean, I do, but like. Not with you guys.
Yeah, exactly. And then flying there in a helicopter, it was just, So,
I mean, I love all my gaming press friends, but like if I'm going to go to a tropical paradise, I'm going to take my girlfriend.
Exactly. You're not taking a bunch of dudes.
I'm not going to take Jeff Gerstmann. I mean, come on.
The one thing I do like about that, though, for whatever reason, like that is the one review event where a lot of the senior editors go to it. Maybe that's why, because it's like at a resort, but. it's always good to catch up with those guys at those things and see how they're doing and just talk shop for a little bit.
My favorite part of those events is always when everybody goes up to play in their rooms for the first, because usually you play the single player in your room and the multiplayer in like a big ballroom or whatever.
Yeah.
And I love that like everybody goes up to for the first play session, everybody comes down for dinner, and you have that sort of like dance where everyone's like, did you finish it yet? I'm like, oh yeah, I finished. And everyone's trying to figure out, like, are they slow? Am I ahead? Or who's?
Yeah, well, then people some people will ask you if you like it or not.
Oh yeah.
And that's where I'm just like, nope, sorry, because I actually did that one time. I talked with someone. I'm not going to say who it was, but I went to a Call of Duty review event, and we were talking, and somebody asked me like, what do I think? And this was actually somebody who I would go to events and like hang out with, because you always have like that circle of people that like you gravitate towards. Maybe you worked with them in the past or whatever. And I remember this guy asking me what I thought, and I was like, you're my friend, like, I'll talk with you about it a little bit. And he was just gushing about the game. And I was like, it's good, but, I have some caveats and some issues with it. Dude, his review came out, he gave it like a 6. I was like, what the hell? Where did that come from, man? That was it. I was like, I'm not even doing this anymore. Like, what was that guy's game? Like, I couldn't understand. Like, if he was, like, relying on me to give his opinion, I don't even know. So, yeah, review events are bad. I know people think that that's like the big old like bribo trip or whatever, but most journalists hate going to those things, and I'm one of them. So I'm hoping that with this game as well, with Titanfall 2, that it's just like, here's the game, just go on your retail console and play it with everybody else.
Well, it's much more like that this generation. I mean, you don't really need debugs.
I don't have a debug.
Yeah.
Nope.
Like, it's not like it used to be.
No.
Everything's digital. Everything's a code.
Or they send you a box copy early and just let you play it on your retail unit. Like, I have all my stuff turned off. Like, I get messages from people on PSN all the time. They're like, don't you play video games? Because they can't see, like, my trophies and, like, all that stuff. Because basically when they send you early code, they're like, turn all that stuff off so people can't see the trophies and the achievements and everything. And so I turn it off, and then I never bother turning it back on, because by the time I turn it back on, then I get another game that I have to play that people can't see what I'm doing. And so people can never see like what I've done or how much I've played, and they're always like, do you ever play video games? Like, I get random messages from people all the time. I'm like, yes, in fact, I spend way too much time playing video games. But it is a big improvement with this generation, how reviews are handled and review events are handled. Like, there just really aren't review events anymore. It's just like, sit on your couch. And it's smart, because the more comfortable you are, at least I feel personally, the more open you are to probably enjoying something. You go someplace far away.
Probably cheaper, too.
Yeah, cheaper for us, cheaper for the publishers.
Yeah.
Like, it just makes too much sense. So, I don't know. I'm pretty excited by what I've heard about the campaign from this so far. It doesn't...
Like, I was kind of in the boat where I'm just like, well, I'm just going to have to pick, like, between Titanfall and Infinite Warfare and Battlefield 1. And I'm like, I don't know if I can. I think I might have to just play them all.
I'll definitely
and fit them all in as much as I was going to try to, like, drop one. I'm like, I don't think... None of these three look like they're skippable this year.
Well, the good news about it is that the campaigns in most of these games are usually really short.
Yeah.
Like, you can get through the campaign. Longest Call of Duty campaign in the modern era was probably 8 hours long.
Yeah.
I mean,
and they've got
Battlefield's campaigns are like 3 or 4 hours.
Oh, yeah.
And they're always terrible.
Man, Battlefield 3, I reviewed Battlefield 3, and I remember that was like the first one with a big a Call of Duty style campaign. What a bad time.
The Battlefield 4 was awful as well, the campaign in that. Like, I have zero faith that the campaign.
But I will never forgive Battlefield 3 for that F-18 level.
Yeah.
Where you're just stuck in the cockpit and can't do anything.
Yeah.
Except, like, move a crosshairs on things and shoot them like it's a rail shot. Like, what a dumb way to do that. What in a series where like the whole thing is you can control all these vehicles and fly planes on the multiplayer and everything, like to like lock me into this on rails shooting gallery for the like, what a dumb way to do that.
Yeah, I think the one thing I would say about Titanfall 2, this may be a little critical, is that I don't know if there's a hook. I guess the hook is that now you can play Titanfall 2 by yourself.
I guess.
And there's a mechs in the game, but I mean...
There's a little more look at the lore and look at the... I mean, there was clearly a lot of backstory work happening
under
in that
the hood,
first game.
yeah.
And, like, all the creatures outside the maps and in the first game and all that. And it's just like, to learn more about kind of what this world or this universe is, like, that's a welcome thing. I think, there's meat to be had there.
There was just nothing unique about the camp, at least from what they've announced so far. And look, if we look at the way things go in the past, this was their big campaign. This was their big preview event. I mean, the game comes out in like, a month and a half, 2 months.
2 months, yeah.
So there's not going to be another event where they show off the campaign again. Like, typically, like, what you get today is probably the majority of the information regarding the campaign. Obviously, there's going to be some hidden stuff and secret stuff in the final game, but you will learn about all the tenets of a game at the preview event a month or two prior to its release, which is what just happened. So I'm encouraged by it, but a little disappointed that Respawn didn't find something really unique, some kind of cool twist to kind of set it apart from other games, other than the mechs.
Well, we might. We'll see.
Yeah. So let's move on to the next topic. QuakeCon 2016 happened last week. It actually
did?
Yeah, well, exactly. It actually kicked off like the day that we recorded last week's show, and that's how we kind of got the Prey trailer into the show last week. But all the stuff that actually happened, like really happened in the following days, so we're going to discuss it this week. For starters, like no Dishonored, really. They didn't talk about that game at all. The game's coming out November 11th.
Maybe they figured they kind of blew it out with E3 enough, or like it's not like QuakeCon's for like multiplayer stuff.
I mean, look, we still haven't seen a huge chunk of Dishonored gameplay.
And also, Dishonored isn't id, so
yeah.
I know Bethesda's kind of.
I mean, is it really id's event or is it Bethesda's event at this point?
I don't know. I'm sure there's arguments about that internally.
Yeah, like, I mean, because who's probably putting up most of the money for that event? I'm guessing it's Bethesda.
Probably.
So you're right. I mean, that's totally their out. Their scapegoat is that it's not an id game. But they did talk about 3 of id's other games, and the first one we want to talk about is Prey. And Prey 2017 is it's called right now. They don't have the subtitle for it yet. And one thing I would say is, you know, we showed the trailer on the show last week, the first gameplay ever of the game. It's an impressive trailer. You're going to see it now because it's still the only footage that's been officially released of the game. You're probably going to see it a couple times here, actually. But here's what I would say. Watch this trailer really closely because the information that was disseminated out of this event about this game makes it sound absolutely awesome. So it's by Arcane, as everyone probably knows already, which has the Dishonored pedigree. This game sounds like Dishonored in a lot of ways. First of all, it's an open world game, but it's set on a space station, which how big is that space station going to be if they consider it an open world game?
Space stations could be pretty big.
I mean, that is one part about this kind of rework of Prey 2 that is like the original Prey 2, is that it is set on like this mega like space station. But it has all kinds of really cool elements. It also has like the stuff you'd expect. It has crafting, which they call fabrication. It has skill trees, as you would expect. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's your typical like open world action RPG that you would get from Bethesda. It's right in their wheelhouse, so to speak. But it also has some really, really cool stuff in it. So one of the things that everyone's raving about coming out of that event is a glue gun. So there's a gun in the game that shoots... I think people are calling it the glue gun. I don't know what the official name of it is, but it shoots like a concrete, like glue-like substance that you can use to freeze enemies and basically stop them dead in their tracks and then take them out. But it's also used for puzzles and things like that. So one example that people use was there's a hallway with like a gas pipe that's exploded and there's gas and flames going across the hallway. You spray a little bit of the glue on the pipe, it clears it up, you walk through. But they said that was just like the very first thing that you use it for to show you what it can do. And then they said like they started seeing more advanced applications of it, like spraying it up a wall and being able to then like run up that wall, like your shoes stick to the glue or whatever. So think about that game-wide, the ability to just spray something anywhere and then being able to walk along wherever you sprayed that glue. I think that's a really, really cool idea and a cool concept.
It does kind of tie into that Prey pedigree of like just changing up like your orientation. You know, like because the first Prey had like all the portals and stuff. You can up on the ceiling and all that. Yeah. Like so that does kind of like start to tie it into
just
why
like
they called it Prey.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I know they paid for that IP and they're going to use it whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
But
also, the story came out this week at QuakeCon about what happened with the original Prey 2.
Which I heard not everyone believes.
Yeah.
And the human head guys are like, we know what really happened. Come on, dude.
Well, they probably signed NDAs and can't talk about it, which is weird that Pete Hines from Bethesda talked about it because he probably shouldn't be speaking about it either. But he said that they butted heads with the direction of the game. Who knows how true that is, but little anecdote.
Well, the conspiracy theory version is that they basically screwed with the milestones with Human Head because they wanted to buy them. And eventually, the developer runs out of money, and they're like, "Oh, we'll just purchase you. We'll just buy you out then." And that's what apparently what the Human Head, some people at Human Head at the time say is actually what happened.
Wasn't it eventually dissolved though, Human Head?
Yeah, because they didn't want to get bought.
Oh, so they
that was reportedly what the butting head thing was. Was like they didn't want to get bought, and Bethesda wanted to buy them.
Gotcha.
But in the end, it became like this whole thing.
So there's a whole human-alien dichotomy going on where you can take the path of the humans or you can take the path of the aliens, reportedly. There are mind powers in the game, so you can use your mind to manipulate people and you can take over other humans. That's nothing new in video games. We've been able to do that before, but when you take that all told with everything else in the game, it's a pretty cool extra feature. And then you have the ability to take over inanimate objects.
Hooray, Geist.
Yeah, so it's like Geist. They said one of the examples that they showed was the ability to take over a cup. And
finally, in HD, we can take over a dog food bowl.
Yeah, exactly. So it has stuff like that, too, where you can mess with people. And they said it's a horror game. It's really scary. And I don't know. I'm really excited for this game now. I was kind of lukewarm on it. I wasn't a huge fan of the first Prey. I thought it had some really cool ideas.
Yeah.
Never really fleshed them out well enough.
Well, the first Prey was one of the, and wasn't it like super delayed forever? And like when it finally came out, it was like, yeah, this is a pretty standard shooter, except you go through portals once in a while. And then Portal came out a little bit, a couple of years after that, and you're like, oh, this is what Prey should have been.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like the fact that you couldn't manipulate the portals was sort of like what held Prey in its, because in the end, a portal, if you don't get to choose where it goes, is just another door. Yeah. I mean, that's what the word means.
So you're seeing the mind powers right now. There's like an apparatus that you have to use that literally has a needle that goes into your eyeball. It's sure to turn some people off. But yeah, I'm really excited for this game now. It's coming in 2017. It's not coming out this year. I'm actually surprised it's coming, but they already announced it's coming in 2017.
I'm guessing late 2017.
Yeah, probably a Q4 game, I'm guessing. But I'm really excited about that. Sounds like it had a really good showing at QuakeCon. Quake Champions was the other game that they focus on big time. Put out the first gameplay of that, which looks...
Is this true PC only, they say?
So far, yeah, PC only.
Wow.
Yeah, they're still waffling on whether the game's going to be free to play or whether they're going to charge for the game. From all the sounds of it, there is no single-player campaign. It's multiplayer only, to which I would suggest that they probably go free to play. Although I did see this week that Rainbow Six Siege has twice as many people playing it now as it did in the first month of its release.
How'd that happen?
Word of mouth, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people that really love Rainbow Six Siege. I honestly did not have that good a time with it. You can read my game about if you want to see my full impressions on it.
I think if there's another game, if there's another multiplayer-only franchise that could pull the Overwatch $60 thing or the $50, Overwatch was $60 on consoles.
Yeah.
If there's another series that could pull the full price thing with this kind of game, it's Quake.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
So they've shown off 4 of the characters so far. I think all of them are retro legacy characters. I don't think they've shown off a new one yet.
The hoverboard one, a legacy character?
I think it is.
I don't know Quake well enough to...
Yeah, I don't know either. Obviously, I don't know either well enough either to be able to tell you. But it has traits like the character-driven games that are coming out now, like League of Legends or like Overwatch. Every character has an ult, a special ability that only they can do. One of the characters has like a charge. One has a teleport. They actually end up, and you didn't realize this when I first watched the trailer, but after reading all the information from QuakeCon, you watch this trailer and you see all the stuff that I'm talking about. You can see all the ults happening eventually. But how do you feel about this, Matt? Arena shooters are kind of a dime a dozen right now. I know it has the name cachet, and a lot of people are going to give it a chance just based on that alone. But also, I mean, Quake is an old franchise that hasn't been around for a really long time, man. I'm just wondering if you can convince people to pay $60 for a multiplayer-only game based on a franchise that hasn't been relevant for almost a decade, really, now.
I don't know. I think it depends how big the retro audience for that is. And I would say that the audience is probably there to some degree. I am not part of that audience, at least not for $60. I mean, if it's free to play, I'll probably try it. But like the Doom multiplayer, I think I've touched once.
Oh, really? You never ended up playing
I just
it?
don't care.
Yeah.
I was never a multiplayer shooter person for back in the day.
Yeah.
I only really got moderately into it with the Call of Duty era, and even that didn't hold my attention that long.
Yeah.
So it's just, and Overwatch I like because the character stuff makes it appealing. But even that, I'm just like, something more than the same thing, same two game types over and over and over. I just can't do that.
Yeah, that does get old. I can't believe they still haven't introduced more game types than Overwatch.
Yeah, it's weird.
What the heck, man? Like, you play a Call of Duty, there's like, I'm not even exaggerating, like 25.
To be fair, it doesn't seem like they need to.
Yeah.
They're holding their audience just fine.
I mean, I get it for the esports side of it. You need to find one primary mode and stick with it because people need to get good at it. It's just like football or basketball.
And they do have like the little one-off modes. Like they had the thing with where everybody played Lucio, the Brazilian
Lucio
guy,
Ball,
and
it's
it was like
Rocket
League.
thing.
Yeah,
This
that was
happening
fun.
like during the Olympics, and
there's another one. I think before that it was like everyone had to be a healer. And it was just like a healer contest, like deathmatch kind of thing. I'm like, that's
if everyone's
that's
a healer, how does anyone ever die?
Well, you got a pistol.
All right. Long matches. Those matches are too long already, if you ask me. So I don't know, man. I don't know if Quake's a good idea for Bethesda.
I feel like it's gonna make enough waves to probably be worth it. Like I
mean, look, Doom did well, but Doom has actually had some relevancy over the last 5 years, 6 years.
Sort of. I mean, although part of the relevancy was like, hey, Doom 3 sure sucked, huh? Like,
yeah. Well, Doom also has a hook, and it's like the violent, like gory shooter thing. Like Quake is just like fast rocket jumps. Like that's kind of its identity.
And I don't know. I think maybe there's a group of people that would want to see that come back, but I think you're right. It's going to hinge on the pricing.
Yeah.
I think you might have some success if you can get if it's free to play. Or like more like like a $30, $20 game, and like you can kind of jump in and say, oh yeah, Quake.
I remember this.
Hey, yeah, this feels good. Oh, I think I'm going to buy a box of stuff. I think this would be a good one to kind of lure people in and then get them.
Yeah.
It feels like this may not be, unlike Doom, it may not be necessarily something that people would be like, take my $60 right now. Quake. Let's Quake. Maybe if it had a campaign and sort of, but it's like that's the other question is like if you do a Quake campaign, what do? Do you do it like the first one? Do you do it like the second one, which is totally different? Do you do it like enemy territory? Do you Quake 3 didn't have one? And the most successful one is probably Quake 3 Arena, which was just multiplayer. So
yeah, I mean in some ways they're probably smart for making the game PC only because that's really where its audience is.
Yeah,
and I don't want to generalize, and this is just anecdotal based upon my life experience, but most of the people that I know that are older gamers are PC gamers. Mm-hmm. Like, everybody I know that's older than me that still plays video games, they're predominantly PC players. And they have a lot of disposable income. They're in their prime earning years where they have a lot of money, and they have beastly freaking rigs. And they're always looking for something new to run.
And they use them to play flight simulators and train simulators. What the hell is that?
And games with their kids, basically.
I know a guy who has, I'm not kidding, $1,500 worth of TrainWorks DLC.
Gotta be for the kid.
Look up. No, it's his.
Really?
Like basically, he doesn't have room for like the HO scale train set in his house, so he has it in his computer.
Talk about disposable income.
Yeah,
that guy's got it.
Look up on Steam. Look up like Train Simulator and Railworks and all that that stuff. And look at the DLC. Look at the DLC. It's like wow.
I'm gonna close down Sifted and start a TrainWorks lotto website.
I don't remember if it's TrainWorks or Railworks. I don't know, but there's a bunch of different train games like that, and it's like $30 for the rail line between like London and and Surrey or something. It's just a rail line. It's like you're just gonna drive. It's like the flight sim guys who they have their oown airline and they have like a flight timetable and they have to like have all their planes take off and land at the same time. Like they have to like check in and like. It's just like if that's what you're into, that's what you're into.
Yeah, I'm not going to begrudge anyone for it.
But it kind of ties into one of the things we're talking about later, where it's just like, how dare you charge those poor people like $25 for a new caboose? Like, what are you doing?
Because they know they'll pay it.
Yeah, because you have to have the caboose or it's not realistic.
Yep. So the last game that they showed at QuakeCon was Doom. They showed like the first real like hefty piece of DLC for it. Most people were pretty upset that it is not story DLC. It is 3 new maps, couple new weapons and a new demon. Mm-hmm. You didn't play much of the online multiplayer. I don't know if you played enough to even know, but like there are power-ups.
Yeah, you can become the demon.
Yeah, you can become the demon. So there's a brand new demon that they're adding to the mix. But the multiplayer in Doom did not do well. It was dead pretty much like a week and a half after it came out, and that was on PlayStation 4, not Xbox One.
I only played it a little bit after. I think it was after either when we talked about it, like when it came out, or like a couple weeks later.
There's the new demon right there they just showed.
And basically, I'm like, yeah, I should try that. So I tried it. It was actually hard to find a game.
Yeah, and the other. Well, here's one case where the game had too many modes.
Yeah,
there weren't enough players to support all the modes. So if you played anything but like Team Deathmatch, there was like no one to play against. So I don't know the tact here. I mean, I'm assuming Bethesda thought that Doom's multiplayer would be a lot more popular than it is, and I don't blame them. I would have assumed that as well, but people seem to not be enjoying it and are turned off by it. And so now their first big DLC drop is something that no one really cares about or is going to play. Probably too late to rejigger the strategy. I don't even know. They didn't even announce whether they have any plans for story DLC at all. And
if they're smart, they'll try to pivot to it.
Well, you played the campaign, right? It kind of ends like...
Yeah.
There's not really any kind of a cliffhanger.
No, but you can just do more. I mean, it's like the old expansion packs. Like, here's more.
Yeah.
Here's 50 more levels.
Suddenly new demon appears. A new hell has spawned. I don't know how you would do it.
I don't care.
They could find a way.
Yeah.
I mean, look, the campaign was so fun. Like, it doesn't really matter what you're doing, right?
Another hell portal opened up on Europa. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, just whatever you need to do to get me to kill more demons in weird situations, go ahead and do that.
Yep. So that's QuakeCon. Pretty typical of QuakeCon. That's usually what you end up getting.
Yeah.
Usually a trio of games that they end up showing off there. Some years less, because it seems to have kind of ratcheted its development up over the last couple years. Mm-hmm. There was a couple years where QuakeCon was pretty lean when it wasn't doing a whole lot. So,
yeah, the post-Rage years.
It's kind of good to see it have a resurgence. I mean, that's one of those developers that I have kind of this special place in my heart for. I've been playing its games for so much longer than a lot of other developers that I definitely kind of root for them a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's good to see QuakeCon become, an annual relevant convention instead of this thing that, like, maybe I'll go this year, or maybe I won't, or maybe I'll go next year, maybe I won't. Now it seems to be an event that if you're into Bethesda and its games, it's something you can attend every year and get some really good value out of. So, good show, Bethesda. Let's move on. We're going to talk about Gamescom. Gamescom kicks off next Thursday.
So soon.
It is soon. Let me ask you something, Matt. If I called you tomorrow and said, hey, Matt, I want to send you to Gamescom to cover Gamescom, would you go?
No.
Why would you not go?
Because I don't want to.
Just because you don't want to go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a long... I'm not going to the other side of the planet for something with no press conferences.
Yeah. So...
Frankly. I mean,
yeah. Gamescom.
No offense, Germany. I love Germany, but I know I'd just be stuck at that convention center and not be able to do anything fun, German related, French related, or whatever, and anything, I just it's like E3's paler sister, right now. It's just like because there's nothing new this year. Like other years, like Gamescom has been like where it's happening, like where the big stuff was being shown, and like the stuff is like, oh, E3 was okay, but like Gamescom's where the real shit's going down.
Yeah.
And this year it's just like, maybe we'll come. It's like, nobody. There's no press conferences. There's not a lot of big reveals.
So no Microsoft press conference, no Sony press conference, either one this year. I think that is the first time ever for Gamescom that neither one of those two are doing a press conference.
Yeah.
Last year it was Microsoft only. This year Microsoft's bowing out. It's doing a fan event. EA's doing a fan event. EA's not doing a presser either. I think it's done one every year so far, except for this year. Mm-hmm. Gamescom's starting to look like a little bit of a washout, but the reason I wouldn't go to Gamescom...
I mean, it's probably worth it if you're local, just because when else are you going to get your hands on that stuff?
Yeah.
But in terms of flying from the other side of the world...
Yeah. I think, honestly, my biggest deterrent to going to Gamescom, and I hate to say it, is terrorism. I
wouldn't even have thought of that.
Really?
No.
I thought of it, almost immediately once all this crazy stuff started happening in Europe, because, I mean, what other event in Europe is going to have that many people at it. I mean, there's more people there than like the most important
football.
Premier League soccer matches.
Only because they can't hold anymore at the Premier League stuff,
Right, but still, I mean, there's like double the amount of people at Gamescom than there is at football games in Europe. Like,
yeah, that it would surprise me if something like that happened.
It would? I mean, look, of course it would. Like, yeah, you're totally right. It would be a surprise and a shock if it happened, but I still kind of have it in the back of my mind that something could, and like, that coupled with the fact that the show looks to be kind of a shell of itself this year, I would not go to Gamescom.
I would just not go because it wouldn't look interesting enough to spend 13 hours on a plane. Actually, I think that's
Each
more.
way.
That's more
It's
than
more
13
than that.
hours. It's more,
no, that's about right.
About that?
Italy was a 12-hour flight from LA.
All right, so it depends if you have a stop.
Yeah.
It was about 13 hours plus a 1-hour connection to Sweden. So yeah, it's about that.
Yeah.
And that's a long time to be in a steel tube.
It is.
That's
just a flight there.
To see Forza again.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, but terrorism would not enter in my head.
It definitely has mine.
It means Germany, right?
What'd you say?
It's in Germany, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Germans don't let that shit happen.
Well, we'll see. They better be on their game.
Germany's got that. You got it. I know.
So let's quickly run through all the products that we are assuming are going to be shown instead of talking about what's not going to be shown, which obviously not Neo, which they've announced that they're having an event September 7th to show off Neo for the first time. Well, they're having an event in New York City on the 7th. The day before they announced that, leaks came out saying that they were announcing Neo on the 7th. And so conveniently, the very next day, Sony's like, yeah, there's an event in New York on September 7th.
Well, then I noticed on Pactor was seemed to be implying that it would be next year.
Coming out next
year. Do you think he knows something, or is that like because there is precedent for Sony announcing a new system permutation and then releasing it like within a month and a half afterward? But like someone said, like this is the Neo. It ain't just the PS2 Slim.
Well, one of their consoles though was announced and came out like a couple months later. So it has happened before. And here's the thing about Pactor is that he does talk to people, and he takes a different tact. Instead of him saying I talked to so and so and blah blah blah,
he'll just drop those things in there.
Right. He'll be like, I think it's coming out in March or April. And then, oddly enough, what happens, it comes out in March or April. So I can't say for a fact, look, he didn't say anything off camera or anything that made me think that he knew what was going on, but I've just known him and worked with him long enough to know his MO.
Yeah, well, that's why it stood out for me.
That's kind of how he operates.
He just like threw that in without like really even drawing attention to it. But it's like that said something to me.
Yeah.
And if that happened, that would be kind of mean because that's basically Sony 800-pound gorillaing the NX.
The NX, yeah. If the NX comes out in March,
right?
Which it seems like it is. Starting to hear about manufacturing starting and all that kind of stuff. So.
Down to the wire, but it looks like they might make it.
Yeah.
If the rumors are true.
Yeah. So there's no Neo. They're not going to show Scorpio either, even though that's already announced. They're not showing like the form factor or anything for. Although that might be a smart idea to get out ahead of the Neo, is to maybe show the form factor of Scorpio, or maybe show like the first game running on it. IGN ran 4K footage of Forza Horizon 3 this week that looked amazing. Even on my 1080p monitor, just watching the 4K version, like in 1080p, it looks so much better than normal 1080p video. I was like, oh my god, like my eyes almost popped out of my head. So it may not be a bad idea for them to show maybe 4K Gears of War 4 footage. I could maybe see that happening, but we're not going to get the hardware there. So instead of talking about what we're not going to get at Gamescom, let's talk about what we are going to get at Gamescom. So Sony's already said PlayStation VR is going to be a huge part of Gamescom. It has to be. Can you believe, Matt, PlayStation VR comes out also in 2 months.
Yeah.
We're 60 days away from PlayStation VR. So for all intents and purposes, other than TGS, this is the last chance for them to sell PlayStation VR to the world before people have to pay for it. And
I think they will. I mean, first wave's gone, but I had a friend brought a friend over to try the Vive because he played the Vive, and he brought his friend over. He said, "Can he come over and try it?" I'm like, "Yeah, come over and try it." It was actually funny because like his friend was like one of those people that's like, you ever meet one of those people that's like really excited about everything?
Yeah,
they're just entertained by things. They never dislike a movie. They just want to have something happen in front of them that's fun to watch or whatever. Yeah. He's not critical about things. They just like. I mean, it's a way I can't live. It's like But he,
well, as someone who's been paid to be a critic,
right.
it's kind of impossible to live that way.
But I put him in the Vive, and we ran the lab thing, the lab, and like all these various things, and like just the enthusiasm. He came out of it.
Oh my god!
He's like, dude, I'm coming here instead of Disneyland from now on. I'm just like, I'm like, well, it's nice to see like someone that happy. It's fun to demo that stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
And like, and he's like, what are you doing? And he does. I think he does have a PS4, or he knows some of the PS4. I'm like, well, for half the money, you can just get the place. He's like, I'm gonna.
For half the experience.
Yeah, it's true, but like it doesn't. Yeah, I try to. You try to warn people. It's like, yeah, you're not going to be able to do the moving around stuff, but like, it's still a pretty solid thing.
Yeah.
And I think Sony's lineup is going to be really cool, and have stuff you can't
it's
play.
It's
on
going to be
the
really
other
robust
things.
compared to any other head-mounted display. It's going to have way more software.
Way more games.
That writing is already
games.
all over the wall.
And I think it's also going to be like. Stuff that like you can't play on the other two.
Oh yeah, I mean they have tons and tons of exclusive games, so it's gonna be interesting to see how it all plays out. I wouldn't be surprised if they announce a couple new PlayStation VR games from European developers.
For Ace Combat. Like that's what I'm after.
I'm guessing Q4 2017 because they're also making a version of it that's not PlayStation VR, so it's not like they're just putting together this little short experience. They need to make sure that the legacy Ace Combat fans are also happy with the end product. So I would say, next year, late next year for Ace Combat. Let's move on to The Last Guardian. This is it for The Last Guardian, Matt. This is the last... Can we do a most anticipated games of Gamescom so I can give it to The Last Guardian one last time?
Not going to be a TGS?
It might be. Honestly. Yeah, I mean, TGS is... Yeah, I guess TGS would be right before it comes out, like a couple weeks before. It's like the end of September, so yeah. I guess that would be actually its last showing, and it probably will be there. But certainly the last showing for Western audiences. People don't pay attention to TGS, by the way.
No.
Like, people here don't give a crap about TGS, and for good reason.
Well, it hasn't been relevant for many, many years.
And Microsoft just announced it's not going there again
Remember when
this year.
TGS used to be like the mecca of gaming? Remember when like you'd read it in the magazines, you'd be like, man, I wish I could see that. Just
one day.
Just once, and one day. And we did, and it was amazing.
And
then, like,
it lived up to it.
And then for the next 4 or 5 years, we just watched it decay.
Yeah,
Every time we'd go, like, why did we get on a plane for 12 hours to do this? And like now I'm sitting here trying to interview somebody about a mobile version of MapleStory. Like, what the hell is going on?
That's what it came down to. It's like you get to that last day of the show and you're like, we have cruise booked that we're spending like $3,000 on today. We have to find something for them to do. So we just go shoot cosplay all day. Because the cosplay there at that time was like untouchable.
Oh, the Middle Breezeway was like, you never, I mean, now it's like any Comic-Con in America is up to that level.
Back then, that was kind of the only place to even see cosplay.
Yeah.
There was no cosplay really in the West.
I mean, it was like the difference.
It was really niche.
I mean, there was, but it was also just not like on the mechanical level.
Yeah.
It was like the difference between like going to Disneyland to see the people in the actual character suits and like someone wearing mouse ears like on the corner.
Costume,
Or like, I guess the difference between like the Chinese theater, Hollywood Boulevard like costume guys and like the actual you know Disneyland people. It's like just sort of that
the
element.
heroin addicts on Hollywood Boulevard.
It's sort of that element of like you're not real, but like, and then like you go to Tokyo Game Show and it's just like it's like these characters stepped off the screen and into Makahari Mesa, and now you see that everywhere. I mean, especially Gen Con, Dragon Con. Dragon Con Atlanta is like the cosplay Super Bowl, basically. I'm like, no, the competition is real, man. Like the cosplay competitions at Dragon Con is like
cutthroat.
Like
I saw it on that really bad cosplay show that was on
terrible
TV
reality show. Yeah, but in reality as well, in addition to horribly like manipulated production situations, like there's real stuff and real drama and real anger that goes back years and years in those competitions, and it's amazing. All
right, let's get back to The Last Guardian. How are you feeling about The Last Guardian now? It's been this crazy long wait. Like, people talk about, like, No Man's Sky being delayed. I mean, this is, like, the ultimate delayed game finally being released. How are you feeling about it now that we're there?
I'm kind of trying to stay, like, neutral on it because, like, you can't put 11 years of expectations on this thing because it's not going to be that.
Yeah.
There's no way it's going to be something you'd be like, all right, 11 years in the making, show me what you got, because it's not. I don't think it's going to be that. I think it's going to be like a pretty standard game. I think it's going to be cool because it's the eco guys and the that art direction and the catbird is gonna break somebody's heart at some point and all that. But I don't want to kind of get oh my god, I can't wait for this game to change everything and my toy with my emotions and be my new favorite game of all time, because Shadow of the Colossus is my favorite game of all time.
Wow.
And it supplanted the previous one.
How are you not over the moon about this game then?
Because I don't fucking trust it. It's 11 fucking years.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of disappointed.
I've been waiting for this game for longer than my niece has been alive.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I'm gonna play it. It's gonna be over in an evening. I'm like, this game might be 5 hours long. I don't know. We don't know anything about this thing.
I'm actually kind of disappointed in myself at my lack of excitement for this game coming out. I think over time it just beat me into apathy. I
can agree with that. Yeah.
I mean, we had egg on our faces so many times at GT, giving
this for sure. Really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would call Sony and be like, yo, and this was back when our most anticipated features on GT would do 3 or 4 million views. They actually had weight in the industry. And I would call Sony and be like, hey, we're doing our most anticipated for whatever show it was, and we want to, include The Last Guardian. Should we include it? And they'd be like, oh yeah, you definitely should. And of course I'm sitting there being like, well, they're going to say that no matter what. And I'd be like, is it going to be there? Oh yeah, all indications are pointing it's going to be there. And then it would never show up. And then I'd see that person at the event, I'd be like, bro. And he'd be like, bro. I'm doing my job, basically, was what they would say. So after so many times of that happening, I think I've just got to a place where I'm just like, you know what? I'll play it when it comes out, but I think I've just kind of just turned it off a little bit.
Yeah.
So
well, there's an element of when it's in my hand.
Yeah.
What else can you do?
Battlefield 1 should be a huge game at Gamescom. Another game is coming out real soon. A game that they've shown a good bit of at this point. They let YouTubers put out hours and hours of multiplayer footage. We haven't seen really hardly any of the campaign yet, though.
No.
I mean, if you think about it, a couple trailers.
I mean, presumably some of the trailer footage is campaign stuff,
right?
But we haven't had a campaign trailer or anything,
or just raw gameplay of the campaign either. And based upon we were saying earlier, the pedigree of Battlefield's campaigns, maybe that's for the best. Lots of eye candy and not much else in those campaigns. Typically, I don't know why they can't get it right. I don't get it, but. So we'll probably see I'm guessing we'll see the campaign for the first time. Maybe they do a demo at their fan event, EA does, and we see actual here's the campaign played for 10 minutes or whatever. So that's something to look forward to. Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, another shooter that'll be there. We already mentioned Titanfall 2, that'll be at Gamescom. In fact, I think Sony mentioned that Titanfall 2 was going to be at its booth at Gamescom, which I found kind of odd.
It makes sense. It's making its PlayStation premiere.
Yeah.
So.
Still, I thought that was a little bit weird. Infinite Warfare, both of us were kind of turned around by it showing at E3. We were down on it. We loved the demo we saw at E3. Then they put out some weird cutscene this past week, just a conversation. I don't know if they were trying to show off the facial animation in the game or whatever, but I was like, that was a poor decision to put out this weird I don't even know why they did it. It was just dialogue. But so that kind of dampened me again. I was like, oh, these wooden characters, blah, blah, blah. It reminded me of old COD games. And what had turned me around on the game was this demo that we're seeing right now didn't look like a Call of Duty game at all. I mean, look at this right now. If I just showed you a 10-second snippet right now, what would you guess that game was?
Well, we didn't know what it was. I'm almost is this Ace Combat?
Yeah.
Did Ace Combat go space?
Yeah, when we were watching it live, we were completely perplexed. So I'm still excited for it. That one little
I thought
trailer.
It was the designs that they'd shown in the previous trailer for the ships, but I was I just couldn't believe that this was Call of Duty.
Yeah, it's pretty odd. Mafia 3, 2K's big game. 2K announced it over the last week that Rockstar will be announcing a couple games in the next, they said not too long, whatever that means. That could mean not over 2 years. I don't know. You know how Rockstar is with announcing stuff. But Mafia 3, 2K's big game. I also have a feeling it might end up being top 5 games selling over the Q4
I think it'll do
holiday. Because what's happened is that a lot of games have cleared out of the way. I was getting together this list of games for this segment, for this part of the Big Six, and what we're going to talk about is pretty much all Q4. There aren't any games other than what we're talking about for Gamescom that are coming out in Q4 that you should kind of have your eye on. So this is kind of this whole lineup for Gamescom is all the games that are coming out in the next 3 months. And I have a feeling Mafia 3, because a lot of the games have cleared out of the way, I have a feeling Mafia 3 is going to end up doing pretty well.
Yeah. Well, also it doesn't look like anything else.
Yeah.
And it isn't like, it's kind of the open world Mafia thing. Like, there's nothing else like it that's going to be on the shelves this fall.
And they've been putting out media like mad over the last week and a half. Like, it's literally every day.
The setting's a new thing, and like the New Orleans setting is going to be an interesting take. I just think there's a lot of potential on this one, and I think it might surprise people. Yeah. In terms of hooking the imagination of the general public.
2K knows how to market games like this too. Make no mistake, you will know about Mafia 3 coming out, no matter what you're into. No matter whether
if you watch the NFL games, I hope you like these trailers, because you're going to see them.
I mean, no matter what you watch on TV, you're going to see commercials for Mafia 3. Like, 2K is really good at targeting gamers. No matter what else they like to do outside of gaming, 2K knows how to reach them. Like, you could probably teach a class on how 2K markets games to gamers. I mean,
and I'm also pleased that this is finally sort of happening for Mafia, because Mafia has been a series of sort of like The Witcher, where it's sort of this European series that sort of toils in obscurity early on, and is sort of like soldiered on through all these the couple of sequels, and now
never quite got over the top with the quality.
But the third one looks like it'll finally hit. Finally it'll sell the millions of copies that you kind of play the old ones and make. I think with a little more money and time and technology, these could be a really special thing. And I
think we're going to find out.
Yeah, well, I remember Mafia 1, in addition to being the most frustrating car race I've ever tried to play it in any review.
The driving
thing,
in
anyway.
That game was.
Well, I remember they had to send everybody save games that would jump you ahead past the race, because no one could beat it.
Yeah.
But it was only a third through the game. All of a sudden, you just hit this wall. But I remember playing that game and thinking the cigarette smoke was amazing.
Yeah.
Like it was one of the first games with real time physics oriented, and so if somebody moved their cigarette back through the cigarette smoke, it would affect the cigarette smoke, and it was
if a character walked through it, it would affect it. Yeah, I remember that. But that game was really rough.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing I'm interested in Mafia 3 is that Mafia 1 and 2 both shared this weird thing that I thought I never quite understood the philosophy behind, where they were open world games, but they never used the open world at all.
Right.
There was nothing else to do.
You couldn't really go into houses or anything, unless you were supposed to.
Well, there was also nothing else to do. There was no GTA has little side missions or little
or it's
mini games,
it's just fun to screw around with.
Yeah, but there's nothing like that in the Mafia. The open world basically existed so you could drive to your waypoint, so people could talk to you in a car. And I'm kind of hoping that Mafia 3 finally realizes that there's a world they can play with.
Yeah.
And
I think it's already a done deal that that's the case.
It looks like it. But.
Yep. Let's see what else. Forza Horizon 3, we talked about that just a minute ago. That'll be one of the big Xbox games there. That is coming out this year. Gears of War 4 is getting blown out big time by everybody. First, Game Informer had its shot with its cover story and a whole month of exclusive coverage. Now IGN has a whole month of exclusive coverage this month. I'm guessing GameSpot then gets September. You're not going to be able to escape Gears of War 4 for the next 3 or 4 months, and for good reason. I mean, Microsoft needs this game to sell really well. I don't know. I guess I would say it's kind of the same thing about Gears of War 4 that I said about Titanfall 2. It's kind of disappointing that there's no real unique hook to it, but it still looks great. I mean, as time has gone on, they've kind of, when they first debuted it, they're like, here's all these new characters, and now you're finding out that, old Marcus is in the game, and, Dom is in the game, I
feel like I'm probably going to play this on Windows.
Yeah, on PC?
Yeah.
I don't blame you. I mean, if I had a rig like you had, I wouldn't play anything off of that thing if I could avoid it.
Yeah, I guess so.
I would play every game on that PC if I could. Next up, Deus Ex Mankind Divided. I mentioned review code is out now for that game. Everyone's starting to play it right now. I have not touched it, so I can't really say anything about it. I couldn't say anything about it if I wanted to anyway, because it'll be under NDA. I have a feeling that game's going to be amazing. This is definitely their last chance. This is kind of like...
Let's see what horrible political thing they can co-opt this time. Been a lot of questionable PR
All
choices.
lives matter. Big mistake there.
Well, yeah, and also the grammar was wrong.
Yeah.
If you're gonna rip stuff like that off, ripped from the headlines, at least make it make sense.
Well, this is kind of like Mirror's Edge Catalyst, because remember, Catalyst came out right around E3, and people were like, well, should they show it at E3? Should they not? And they probably should have.
Yeah, it couldn't have hurt.
Because it was basically the same deal. It came out, I think, did it come out exactly on E3
It came out the week
week?
before. It was the week before.
I can't remember.
I want to say it was like June 8th or something, and then E3 was the following week.
Yeah, but this is kind of the same deal. Like, it comes out like a few days after Gamescom ends, so this is really Square Enix's last chance to really blow the game out and get people hyped for it, and more importantly, get them to pre-order it. So I'm expecting to see something pretty spectacular from this game at Gamescom. We kind of need to see something spectacular. I feel like this game's tracking pretty low, or at least lower than it should be.
I mean, it's been around. I remember, like, you and Marcus talking about it when they first showed it, like a long, many moons ago. But I could feel like it's really sort of fallen out of the mind share.
This might have been in one of the first ever episodes of GameFace, actually.
That
it's
original
crazy.
trailer,
It's crazy now, working on Sifted and remembering, like, oh, this is like our second Gamescom now, and like this is our second E3. It's really bizarre. Like,
it's like we've taken some major AAA games from like announcement to release.
Yeah, it's really blowing my mind to think about it. That the website that I started has made it like all this way, and it's like I'm starting to learn from things we did in like prior events and things like that, and how we can adjust it going forward, which is really cool. So let's see what else. South Park. I don't know if they show much of that there. It is Ubisoft. It is Europe. So I wouldn't be surprised if they show something new, but I also wouldn't be surprised if we see nothing from it.
It's also a ways out. Like, I feel like maybe they might just be recycling the E3 behind closed doors demo for this one.
Could be. Dishonored 2 is going to be there.
Makes sense.
Makes perfect sense.
Didn't get to be at QuakeCon, so...
Yeah, and I'm surprised, even though it's not an id game, I am surprised because they got a big bet on this, and the first Dishonored did not sell like crazy.
No.
They put out the remaster, it didn't sell great either.
Well, the remaster was also kind of not great on consoles.
It was a pretty quick and dirty port.
The PS4 one doesn't run well at all.
Yeah.
Which is weird, because it's like... It doesn't look like a very intensive game, but there's just some problems on that one.
I still feel like, though, the lack of sales for that remaster show that the franchise hasn't managed to pick up any extras after the first game was released. Like, sometimes you release a game, word of mouth spreads about it. It may not do that well sales-wise, but by the time you go to put the sequel out, people have talked about it enough that new people are interested in checking it out. I don't get that vibe with Dishonored for whatever reason.
No, it's not a talked-about series, really.
No. Well, people that like it love it, and I totally get why. But it is not tracking well on Sifted, that's for sure. And I got to say, Sifted has been a pretty good barometer of sales. Maybe I should start selling that information. Who needs the MPD when you got Sifted? Dead Rising 4. I think we might see the first
I keep forgetting that game
public
exists.
demo of that game, because it's coming out Christmas.
Yeah, soon.
Yeah, so
something we've barely seen anything of.
I mean, there was a couple nasty, like, crappy-looking YouTube clips that came up, but we have not seen direct feed, like, really sharp-looking gameplay of this yet. And again, they're running out of time. They kind of need to get it out there at this point. So I would not be surprised if we see a new demo of Dead Rising 4, and then finally Watch Dogs 2.
Yes.
That's how I feel about Watch Dogs 2. Yes.
Yes, you are a thing that exists.
You are a video game that's in development. That
I will probably play that game just because it's in San Francisco, and I'm a sucker for anything that takes place in San Francisco, open world style. You don't get that,
particularly racing games. Anything where you drive in San Francisco is fun.
Yeah, well, anyone who watched Bullet growing up is just like, that's the car chase.
Oh yeah,
the San Francisco
like the
car
best
chase.
ever.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
So that's basically what I'm hearing. Remember Driver?
Yeah.
Like they had the San Francisco one with the three of them, and I always wanted them to do a true crime San Francisco, but that series
is
fizzled.
Long gone. Yeah.
And what was it? Oh, and I even like San Andreas was great because there was the tiny little fake San Francisco.
Right.
There's some fun stuff in there.
Yeah.
So I'm probably in just for the San Francisco thing, and I'll just face palm my way through the totally extreme radical like hacksaw elite stuff.
Yeah.
And just deal with it the way I did with the first one.
The
first one was also a pretty good version of Chicago.
Yeah. My interest in Watch Dogs 2 is really low. I have to admit.
If it was
really
not,
don't have that much excitement to play the game at all.
If it did not take place in my home city, I don't know if I would even be looking at it at all.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Like, I didn't.
That demo at E3 did no one any favors.
The first Watch Dogs.
No,
I enjoyed it, and I finished it and played all the way through it. But I felt like when I got done with it, I was done.
Yeah, well,
like,
the first Watch Dogs kind of suffered from, like, oh, there's a cool, like, beginning of an idea here.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't, it's like, I love being able to look at people and find out these little, like, details about them and decide whether or not to steal their money. But it's like, I don't have anything to do with that money now. I'm like, I want to be able to, like, help other. Oh, I feel sorry for this person because they had horrible things happen. This guy is a jerk and he has a ton of money, so I'm going to steal his money and give it to the person I feel sorry. I wanted to, like, be able to manipulate people more with the hacking stuff.
Yeah.
And just sort of, like, play around with that.
Well, they kind of insinuated that's what you were going to do in the game, and then a lot of that stuff never really panned out.
And then it all just came down to holding square.
Yeah, pretty much. So, I'm not too hype about Watch Dogs. It doesn't seem like a lot of people are, to be honest.
It's not getting talked about from what I see. It's not one of those things that people bring up when you start talking about the holiday releases.
Yeah. Here's my bold prediction. It sells less than the first one.
That seems pretty reasonable, because the first one sold shockingly well.
It sold huge.
Because it was like one of the first next-gen games.
Yep. It was the first next-gen game that people saw, and they were like, oh my god, that's next-gen.
Yeah.
Because other games are like, oh, here's our game for Xbox One or PlayStation 4, and you kind of look at it and be like, really? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Seems like that might be able to run on the PS3 if you had Naughty Dog working on it, but then this game, when they showed it for the first time, everyone was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I get it now.
Even with the downgrade.
Yeah.
It was noticeably not something you could have done.
The PC version came pretty close to what was shown initially.
Well, that's the other thing is, like, I'm interested in the PC version of this because, like, it's obviously going to look really good, and, like, the San Francisco skylines are looking really cool. But I'm like,
it's this that I don't like.
I just
Dude,
don't
with
trust
this dumbass mask on, like.
That's how cool he is, man.
It's not cool.
But it's so uncool, it's cool.
It's totally focus tested, you can tell. They're the kids love Deadmau5, so let's give the lead character, like, these eyes that animate like Deadmau5 has. Like, I don't know. It seems like people who don't live in America trying to figure out what pop culture in America is and what people like.
Well, they're also, the Ubisoft tradition of the secret organization wearing a uniform continues. It's like,
not such a secret, is it?
It's like, oh, well, don't get assassinated. Look for the guys in the white hoods.
Yeah.
Like all the secret assassins wear a white uniform that looks like nothing else anyone wears. Just look for that. And then this is like, the super secret underground hacking organization. Everybody, the hats came in.
Yeah.
everybody get your DedSec hat, so everyone knows you're DedSec.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm sure they'll spin it as like,
and make sure you wear your DedSec T-shirt.
You wear your DedSec, apparel to, like, we're just showing we support the movement, and we're, like, throwing off the cops because, like, no one knows who DedSec is because everybody could be DedSec.
Right.
And it's just like, bro, you're wearing no one cares unless they're part of, like.
Yeah.
It's like I don't wear, like, caps for baseball teams I don't like
to
throw off people that they'll accidentally root for that other team because they think I like that team, and then they'll root against that team, but I want them to root against that team, and that's what it's like no one social engineers stuff using baseball hats. Like, that's just not how it functions.
Yeah. So that's it. That's pretty much the lineup of the bigger games at Gamescom. Of course, there'll be smaller stuff. I think Cuphead's going to be there, and a lot of indie stuff. Wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of Euro VR stuff that maybe we haven't got a glimpse at before.
All right, that's a good point in the chat. It's like you can pre-order the iconic DedSec hat.
Right.
Well,
that's why he's wearing it in the game. They want you to be like, I want the hat.
But how can it be iconic when the game's not out?
Yeah.
Like, you can't be iconic before you're the.
Well, in their mind, it's iconic because the character in the trailer wore it. So they're like. That's all marketing.
The only way that thing is iconic is if there is an icon in the game representing it.
Yeah.
That's the only way that thing is iconic right now.
Oh, I agree 1,000%. But that was all part of their marketing plan. Like, first trailer, we'll have the DedSec hat, and how can we parlay that into merchandising and therefore pre-order? And they're like, oh, we'll just make the pre-order bonus the hat. It's like, you can see right through that, for sure. So. Here comes Gamescom. We'll have a hub for Gamescom, just like we did for E3. I don't know if you guys used the hub. It seemed like a lot of people just used the homepage. But let me know. I mean, we put work into the hub. If you guys are not going to use the Gamescom hub, then why should we bother doing it? I liked our E3 hub. I used it because there is other content that comes out during the show. So if you want a snapshot of what's just coming out from that convention, that's a good way to get it. So we'll probably do the hub page whether you guys want it or not, but it'll be there. So our coverage will start Thursday. I guess actually probably be Wednesday night.
I guess, yeah, because it'll be like tomorrow there.
Yeah, so like actually some of the stuff might be happening like Wednesday after midnight Pacific of next week. So yeah, keep in mind next week, late next week, Gamescom kicking off. Let's move on. So this week, Matt, it was announced by Bungie that the vast majority of the studio is now working on Destiny 2. There's one big expansion left to come for the original Destiny, Rise of Iron or whatever, which seems to be getting really good press so far. But it appears that the studio is shifting everything towards Destiny 2. Wouldn't be shocked if it comes out next year. A little surprised if it does, but wouldn't be shocked because it sounds like it's been worked on for a while.
I don't think you want to leave Destiny cool for 2 years.
Yeah.
You know, it feels like you want to keep that.
Yeah. And, well, you know, one of their lead developers left. And one of the things people cited was that Destiny 2 wasn't coming along as well as they had hoped. Like I think originally it was scheduled for this year.
Well, that seems like a tradition then.
Yeah, I mean,
the first Destiny, from what we understand, had a lot of problems.
It did, yeah. And that's kind of the point of this topic of the Big Six. We want to talk about the problems the first Destiny had that we hope will be fixed for Destiny 2. Full disclosure, I played Destiny until I finished it, and never went back to it. Matt, you played a ton.
I played about 100 hours, yeah. Never did finish that damn first raid, and I didn't really play the expansions much. I played, I don't remember when it was, but it was the second expansion that sort of like revamped the whole thing. Like I went back and replayed through the story when they did that. And it's just a much better game. You know, it was like a year after it came out.
Right.
Just a much, much better game. Like, if they'd released that as the game, like, it would have been so much better.
Well, that should bode well for Destiny 2, then.
I'm hoping if because all the things that annoyed me early on in Destiny, like, we're not going to have to live through. We're not going to live through the terrible loot drop, the incredibly aggressive random number god problem. You're not going to have to deal with the fact that, like, the story doesn't make any... the story still doesn't make any sense, but at least, like...
Well, there really wasn't one.
But it's presented in a way that kind of fits together more, as opposed to, like, when it launched, it was sort of, like, it was just really vague, and, the Peter Dinklage VO didn't really know where it was most of the time, and I don't know what happened there, but, like, I think the Nolan North VO is much better for the little guilty spark guy. I mean, here's how much I get all that Destiny stuff stuck in my head. I don't remember anybody's name. The only thing I remember about the story is when you meet the elder guy, and he's like, I bet you have all these questions, and I could tell you about them, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, all right, that's annoying, but it does seem like Bungie, so... It's like,
oh, by the way, in the chat, I see somebody mentioning that the hub, they wanted to be able to sort the hub by platform, and you totally could. Yeah, there's a channel nav on the hub, just like there is on the homepage. And if you click the plus on the right, it'll drop down, and you can just choose Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, or whatever, and it'll sort the hub by just a platform. Just an aside there. So I've actually put together a list of stuff that I want to have changed for Destiny 2.
I'll tell you the other thing. I was like,
but one of them was a real freaking story, as I typed out. Because I felt like it was just like a threadbare, like...
Well, it also felt similar to, like, at the time, to Titanfall, where it's just like, wow, it feels like you really did a lot of work establishing, and to Overwatch to some degree, it's like, you really feel like you did a lot of work establishing what this world is and where, all these characters and all this thing, and then, like, you do nothing with it.
Yeah.
Like, at least Blizzard puts out the videos with the characters from Overwatch to kind of flesh that out a bit, but, like, Destiny did nothing with that until the House of Wolves thing, where, like, all of a sudden, like, they have in the story part of that, they have all those, the heads of the 3 classes that you get your upgrades from. That did not, they hired Nathan Fillion to say, like, nothing through the whole thing. But now in House of Wolves, they're all talking to each other in, like, radio communication and stuff, and, like, they're actually characters now.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm kind of hoping they take that kind of idea and run with it, because there's potential there. I
honestly don't even know what ended up happening with the plot in Destiny, because...
Neither do I, frankly.
Like, there was really one cutscene in the whole game where you go and visit, what is her name? I can't even remember. Like, you fly all the way out and you visit that Oracle or whatever.
the blue girl.
Yeah.
And her brother hates you.
Yeah.
And
what happens with all that?
The Awakened or whatever.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, I was one of those guys. I played one of those characters, and I'm just like, how come you hate me? I'm one of you. Like,
what happened with all that? I have no idea what happened there.
Oh, and then, I mean, there was the thing at the end where, like, you get rewarded for the thing, and everyone, like the guy gives a speech, and everyone celebrates, and then the mysterious, like, robot girl in the hood that's probably time traveling is like, it's only beginning. And it's like, yeah, I know. Of course, that's how the end is. Oh, it's only beginning.
Yeah.
Never heard that one before. And of course, it's like, it's only beginning because you're going to make me grind for 40 hours to get like one piece of better gear. That's the other thing. Is like, I just wish, like, my one wish in terms of how Destiny 2 plays out is like, could you just let me make progress? Does everything have to be like the stupid MMO grind from 1997? Can we get past the idea that the end game should just be repetition of the same thing over and over and over and over again? Because apparently people hate it, judging by the No Man's Sky reviews. But when you put it in an MMO, it's great. I don't get it.
Well,
I don't get it.
It's one of my notes was an easier to understand end game.
That too. All the
like,
light thing and all that stuff. I mean, they got rid of all that, of course.
Yeah,
they simplified it a lot.
They did eventually simplify it. But like that game ended and I was like, what the hell are you talking about? I have no idea what you mean by any of this crap. I was just like, what the F? Like, I didn't get it at all. More, like, simpler terminology. Like, the words, like, just the words that they use in the game, it's like...
I think the terminology is too simple because everything's named, like, the Traveler, everything's the basic fantasy word. Like, there's no... it's just like they transmuted every kind of, like, fantasy...
I wasn't talking about that stuff. I was talking about, like, the weapons and, like, all the... Like, I can't even pronounce the names of most of the weapons in that
like
game.
the Gallarhorn?
Yeah. Like, I honestly did not know how to pronounce that, and Impactor pronounced it in an episode, and I was like, I guess that's how you say it? And how the hell did he know how to say it? Like, I had no clue.
Impactor looks like he might have some Viking in him.
Yeah, there's like 8 million consonants in that word. I'm like, how do you even pronounce this? There's like 2 vowels and like 50 consonants. What else? Better character customization.
Yeah.
Dude, the character customization in that game, for a game that's all about doing emotes and corny little dumb crap, like, the character, I've never felt attached to my character in that game.
I mean, the Taken King fixed a lot of that. So, I mean, I know you never went back to it. Go back to it. Go play it now. Yeah. It's different. It's so different.
I'd have to pay to do that, so that's not happening.
I think you probably should before Destiny 2 comes out, because otherwise you're going to be like, oh, they fixed this. Like, people are like, no, they fixed that 3 years ago.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah. I guarantee, man, it's a different game.
Here's one thing I can pretty much guarantee they didn't fix. Separate multiplayer. Completely separate from the single-player campaign.
They did fix that to some degree.
Really?
You can get I think most, if not all, of the same gear and bonuses other ways now.
You can.
I think that was accurate, yes.
Because that was ridiculous that they did that. Like, I have no idea.
Oh, you mean like when they make you play multiplayer to, like, further the story or whatever?
No, the fact that, like, the campaign carried into the multiplayer.
So you're using your character.
Yeah, like, I hated that. Yeah, it's so stupid. It makes it unbalanced. Like, I know how, like, the weapons were technically on the same level, but the people who were farther along than you could use the better weapons. Like, sure, if you had that same weapon, he didn't have an advantage or she didn't have an advantage over you, but there were times where you didn't even have access to weapons that other players had access to. And that, to me, is just wrong. Like,
well, I think more the bigger problem was that they had guns that were specifically overpowered because of how it didn't matter what level you were if everybody was the same level. There were specific guns that if you happen to find that gun, like, like the burst fire assault rifles were way better for a while, and then the revolvers were way better. It was just the way they worked in terms of how they kind of flattened that curve, and when you flatten that curve out, the performance of some of those guns got crazy.
Yeah, or they could just ditch the multiplayer altogether, in all honesty. Like, I never really enjoyed it that much.
I actually played a fair amount of that multiplayer. I enjoyed it well enough, but, like, one of the reasons I enjoyed it was because it was so, like, lopsided that no one was really taking it particularly seriously, so it was actually more fun to play. People were just going, like, I'm just grinding for stuff. Like, we're just going. And, like, I had a good time playing the multiplayer, but I never really, after I probably played, of the 100 or so hours I played of that game, I'd say about 20 were multiplayer, which is a lot for me.
That is a lot for you. Easier, quicker travel, another thing that I had.
Also, like, let me do something with my damn ship.
Yeah.
Like, why are you giving me all these, like, ship things if, like, I'm just a
vanity.
load screen. Like,
Yeah.
where's my dogfighting like multiplayer thing? Where's my
The travel thing's obvious. I mean,
Why can't
that
it be
was probably the most common
yeah.
complaint about the game.
Well, look, man, like the travel between planets better be like No Man's Sky
right.
in Destiny
Well,
2.
You know that's not going to happen.
Well, it should be though.
It should, but that's not going to happen.
No, but I mean, especially like with stuff like that Infinite Warfare thing, where it's like I
They
think
seamlessly transition from all this different
I
stuff.
I think you're out of excuses for not having like actual space stuff now in this game.
I'd agree.
Especially after teasing me with that damn ship for like the whole first game. Like
Yeah.
I don't understand why. Who cares? Like who cares about this? It's like the dumbest like cosmetic upgrade in MMO history.
Yeah.
Is like look at my ship that's made out of like the same 5 parts as yours, but it's orange.
Yeah.
It's like what do you? It just really felt like something like they were going to do something with it, and they never did.
Yep. And then my last note that I have is less repetition and better, longer-lasting rewards for playing the game. Mm-hmm. Like, that's why I never really continued on. I'm like, I'd like to keep playing and start into this whole other, like, tree of light or whatever the hell they called it. But then I realized you're just doing the same crap over and over again that I had already done over and over again. They just need more content, particularly with the base game that you pay $60 for.
Well, also the thing was, and the Taken King brought it up to code to some degree, but there was just this constant problem of like. It did all these. It was like Bungie played like an MMO from 2004, like Warcraft from 2004, and it was like, "That's good enough.
Yeah,
That's how we're going to make this."
They're not going to expect anything more than
completely
this.
ignoring all the quality of life things, and then it's like it doesn't have to be that. It's not even really an MMO. It's just a shooter where you play with there's a hub with a bunch. It's Phantasy Star Online.
It is,
frankly,
yeah.
That's what it reminded me of the most.
Yeah, me too.
And like. It's an online multiplayer game, but it's not an MMO, so stop making me suffer through all the MMO tropes from like 14 years ago. Like why am I stuck grinding for gear? Why can't you just let me like finish this one level and get something? Or why can't I just buy it this way? Like I don't understand
Well, it's like when PSO came out,
none of that stuff
was
is
fine.
fun.
It was okay because it was like new.
Yeah, it was the standard of the day.
Here we are.
But we've gone way past that stuff. I mean,
Yeah, like 16 years later.
You log on to World of Warcraft now, and it's like, which dungeon would you like to go to? Click it in this menu, and boom, you're there.
Yeah.
You're matchmaking with everybody, and the default difficulty is like you can play the whole like the toughest dungeons that used to take like 40-man raids. You can go through with like a pickup group without anybody on chat.
Yeah.
And just sort of like roll through it. And you get the really good stuff if you go up and do like the higher, the difficulty stuff where it really is still that hard. But it's like if you just want to see the content of the game, like the modern World of Warcraft is just like, go on, go do it. Here you go. Here it is right in front of you. And it's like, why can't Destiny do that? Like, why does it have to be, sometimes it felt like I was playing like this really weird, archaic, thing where like it's like everyone at Bungie was just obsessed with, you know what I miss? I miss Ultima Online when you could when you like had to work all day just to get a stick. It's just like
I mean, it really is like PSO. I feel like maybe some of the guys on the team were like, everybody loves PSO. I love PSO. Let's make a PSO. But they didn't realize like the whole industry and genre had moved way on from that like 10 years ago.
And I ran into the same thing kind of with the Division this year, where it's just like,
Yep.
look, I can only play these levels so many times.
Yep.
For the hope of maybe getting this
drop.
thing that I need to drop. And it's like, stop that.
I don't do it. I don't do it anymore.
No, I just don't do it anymore.
I look at my time as more too valuable.
It turns
to do
me
that stuff
completely
anymore.
off of that. And it's like, it's like one thing if you're sending me through new things, even if it's stupid stuff like the No Man's Sky thing, where you're like, oh, well, at least it's a different world I'm on that I'm grinding through. But if you're going to grind me through the same mall level over and over again, like in the Division, like there's that thing because it's like PSO. I played the original Phantasy Star Online, and it's like little expansions on the Dreamcast. I played that game for 500 hours.
I don't even know how much I played it. Like probably
that was
much.
just on the one character. It's probably more for the other character, but my main character had 500 hours on him. And by the time I stopped playing that game, to this day, if I hear the title screen music for that game, it makes me nauseous.
It does. It gives me chills.
Yeah.
I love the title screen music. For
I like
game.
it, but it makes me. All it does is make me think of all the grinding and all the repetition and all that. By the end of that game, I hated playing.
See, I didn't grind it that bad, but I also got like the Meseta cheat where like I was able to just buy everything I wanted. Remember that Meseta? You never knew about the Meseta cheat?
No, because like you could like get weirdly like corrupted the save.
Oh, it never corrupted mine.
There was some nasty. I mean, there was tons of duplication things and all that. But I had a Seabringer's rifle that I got legit early on, and I used that through the whole thing.
Wow.
And I remember because it's the best rifle. I was a ranger, and I
always use shotguns.
And
so I just shoot once, and then it tags everybody, and you don't have to do anything else. Because if someone else kills all the enemies, you get the points for it.
You get the points.
Yeah.
But I used the Seabringer's rifle to hold. I mean, 90% of the play, it dropped one of the first times through the game, and it stayed. It was one of the best weapons in the
lucky.
game. Yeah, super lucky. And I couldn't even use it for it because you had to convert it from the thing, and you had to actually turn. So I didn't have enough money to do that, so I had to wait until I could do that. And then I used it the whole thing, and then we got to episode 2 when this episode 2 got released, and all of a sudden the Seabringer's rifle was garbage. It couldn't even kill Boomas in the first level, and that was when I started drifting away.
Episode 2 is when I stopped playing. Basically, I played it for a couple of days, but I remember I would get home from work at GameSpot and go into my room. I was sharing an apartment with Gerald Valori at the time, who he ended up going a couple other places, and then now he's at Blizzard. But I would go into my bedroom and shut the door, and he would go into his bedroom and shut the door, and we would play Phantasy Star Online together. But not. It was the most weirdest thing. And every once in a while, we'd, walk out of our bedrooms. I'd knock on his door and be like, yo, you just took my drop, or, whatever. But we, lived together. We were 20 feet apart, but we were connected by, the internet. It's so bizarre.
It sounds like some kind of, ironic painting.
Yeah.
It's like if you saw, an X-ray of the apartment, and it's just, two men with, glowing screens playing the same thing, apart. Because why can't they play together?
Yeah, exactly.
And, no, but the one thing that I think Destiny has over Phantasy Star Online is that the moment-to-moment, I've said it over and over, the moment-to-moment the graphics, but whatever. The moment-to-moment gameplay, the gunplay of Destiny is
real
exceptional.
Gunplay. I mean, Phantasy Star Online was just
Despite,
auto-lock.
and it took me a lot longer to quit Destiny than it probably should have, because the thing was, I'd sit there during those load screens and be like, why am I playing this? Why am I still doing this?
Why am I waiting for this to load?
And then all it would take is one, hit the weak spot or a headshot on one of those enemies, and that pop, and it was
really
that feels really good.
Isn't that so funny how these little mental triggers from video games, the trigger that
dopamine.
Dopamine.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Every time you blow a little gem on the bottom of a Vex or whatever those things were, I was like, yep, that's great.
That's something I should have mentioned on Geif this week about game addiction. There are so many similarities between being addicted to a substance and addicted to games, and that's just another one that you brought up there. So
keep the gameplay. Change everything else.
There's our Destiny 2 wish list. All right, let's move on. So this week I finally reached my breaking point, Matt. So I think I've mentioned on the show before that we have been getting terrorized by Nintendo on YouTube. Literally, any little piece of footage we use of Nintendo, they flag it on YouTube, and then they take all the money for the videos for Pack Factor. Not that we make that much. I think on the average, we make $8 to $10 per episode of Pack Factor on YouTube.
You can't do the thing that Jim Sterling does, where you deadlock them by using footage from something else?
I might be able to do that. I don't have the time to do fun stuff like that. God bless Jim Sterling that he does.
Well, thank God for Jim Sterling.
Exactly. I don't have time to do that. But and you never win. So you can dispute the strike that you get.
It's not worth it.
YouTube sides with the publisher every single time. They've never sided with us. The only time we've ever won is when the publisher didn't bother to respond within the 30-day time limit. So, but the caveat with that is you don't make any money during that 30 days. I think YouTube is going to change that finally here in the next couple months. But from all my experience, it wouldn't change at all. Here's a funny thing, too. Somebody reached out to me on Twitter today and was like, GameFace should be free on YouTube. You can make all the money off of the ad revenue.
Yeah, I don't think people know how things work.
I was like, dude, we make $5 per episode of Pack Factor.
You should just have the fairies fly the gold from the cave to your house.
Yeah.
What? What are you thinking?
Yeah. Yeah, I just responded you need 1,000 views to make $1. He never replied. So anyway, I've been dealing with this with Nintendo, and if you do challenge the strike, and they do respond, they win every time. And the way YouTube is set up is if you dispute 3 times and lose, your channel gets deleted. I think I've mentioned this on the show before. So I just got to the point where I just don't even dispute them anymore. So we already have 2 strikes. 3rd strike, our channel's deleted, and we can't do that. We cannot lose Sifted's official YouTube channel. So basically, these publishers are just stealing from us. Like, our work, all the time, all the money that we put into making Pactor Factor, and we show a 5-second snippet of a Nintendo game while he's talking about that very specific Nintendo game, and Nintendo gets all the money. Like, screw you, man. That's insane.
I mean, that's a YouTube thing more than
It
a Nintendo
is.
thing.
Well,
but
no, it's not. No, it's not. So here's my point. So
that's YouTube's policy. The YouTube's policies are garbage. For
no,
that kind of thing.
it's a joint venture between the two, because up until recently, Nintendo and 2K were the only publishers that do this. Everybody else doesn't care because they look at it like, you're promoting our game. You're showing our video game.
Isn't it automatic though? Don't they like basically upload? Like,
No.
isn't it like that thing where like
The publishers have to do it. Like, they have to have people.
Right, but I mean, like, Nintendo didn't specifically look at Pactor Factor and be like,
No.
nail it.
No.
Like,
They protect their stuff.
They have this like, it's like the movie.
They
companies.
fingerprint their stuff.
They fingerprint
is what it
everything.
is. Yeah. So, but Nintendo and 2K were the only ones that were doing it. And so after a while, I kind of figured out, don't tell anybody, okay, well, they're fingerprinting their trailers. So if I use gameplay from the games, which sucks, because that means I have to, like, break out an old console if it's an old game and get everything set up and then capture, like, a minute of footage. It takes, like, an hour to get that 60 seconds of footage, but I figured out if I did that, normally their fingerprints wouldn't work. Well, actually, Nintendo's on to Pactor Factor now, so it watches it every week, and now it's like giving us flags for gameplay as well. That's not fingerprinting. Nintendo.
So you think Nintendo's
Nintendo's
literally
physically watching that show? Yes, and I'm
they
sure
know.
they have a list because they have a whole team of people to do this
They
stuff.
really want that $10.
It's insane, dude. It is insane.
Like that, whoever they pay, if that is happening, whoever they pay to do that probably costs more.
Exactly. Well, I don't know.
In the time it takes them to do that.
Well,
than-
here's the thing. Like, probably most of their stuff is it's all fingerprinted. So most of their stuff just gets automatic pings,
Right,
and they don't have to
but
do
if
anything.
But if you're capturing your own gameplay footage, then that would have to be something they see.
Here's what I think happens, Matt. The way YouTube is set up now is you type in the name of a game and it tags it to the game. It used to do it before, but the game wouldn't actually be tagged to it. It wouldn't show up like on the video. So now, if you type in the name of a game and hit enter as like one of the tags, underneath the video, you'll see like the box art of the game and the name of the game. And what I think happens is if you do that, Nintendo or whoever gets a list of here's all the videos on YouTube that have your game in them. And then I think they can go through and manually like look through them if they want to. That's the only way I can figure. Like, they pinged Pactor Factor with gameplay. So I had kind of learned how to deal with like Nintendo and 2K, found a workaround. This week's Pactor Factor gets pinged by Ubisoft. Now Ubisoft is jumping in the let's make money off of somebody else's work, even though it's fair use game. And that was it. That was my breaking point, dude. So today, I'm sitting there, I'm like, thinking about it. I'm like, I cannot believe these publishers are so greedy that they think making like a couple pennies is more important than having like a show talk about your game. Like, to me, the cost-benefit analysis of that does not work out. So I started thinking about it, and I'm like, these damn publishers are so damn greedy. What really bothers me is that this week was the week when all the financial reports came out for pretty much everybody. Like EA, Ubisoft, everyone. It all came out this week. Every publisher is making, like, record profits right now. I mean, they are swimming in money. EA stock price, higher than it's ever been. 2K stock price, higher than it's ever been. Sony, almost all its revenues coming from PlayStation now. Like, the games industry is doing great, except the UK, which last month, the lowest month on record for retail sales in the UK. That's scary.
Brexit fallout.
I guess. I don't know what it is.
There's a lot of people pulling out because of
Could be.
fears of tariff problems or whatever. Yeah, it doesn't sound like a lot of it's like warranted, but it's like it just scared off a lot of.
Well, they jacked up the price of Vive
Yeah.
in the UK because of Brexit. Anyway, we're getting off my rage because I am pissed off about this. So
it could be worse. You could be in the UK.
Right. So these companies are it could be worse. These companies are making money hand over fist, more money than they've ever made. And they're still being greedy. It's like it's not good enough. And so I started thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, well, they're doing this jacked up stuff on YouTube. What else are they doing? And, dude, I started putting together a list of the ways video game publishers are basically squeezing their fans for every penny that they can. And a couple things happened in the last couple weeks that also have kind of started leading me down the path of talking about this. So the first thing that happened was Archive.org put up like the first 5 years of Nintendo Power. Archive. These have no monetary value at all. They are magazines about video games that were released 20 years ago.
More than that.
Maybe the only value they have is that there's strategy guides in them for some of the games. That's the only thing I could see.
For games, you would, I really need a strategy guide for Mule.
Right.
It's not gonna...
If you're playing an old first-party game,
you
can get it on
GameFace. Like, you don't need it out of Nintendo Power.
Right.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
So
Nintendo Power, that archive was purely because I read that when I was a kid, and I'm reading it again, and it made me feel good. Like, that was the whole point of that archive.
Exactly. And Nintendo made them take it down.
Of course they did.
So on the 30th anniversary of Metroid, Nintendo has done nothing for the anniversary of Metroid, other than Federation Force, which everyone hates. But otherwise, it's done nothing. Like for Zelda, it had like the crazy concert series that it did.
This is tradition, though. I mean, you remember when the 25th... Because Zelda and Metroid share an anniversary. Remember when the 25th anniversary, they did all the stuff for Zelda, and there's all the fan art of, like, what they would show, like, the partying Zelda characters in the back, and then it was, like, Samus with a Metroid.
Crying in the background.
No, like Samus with a Metroid, and Metroid is bringing her, like, a cupcake with a candle on. She's like, thank you. It's just like, it's the saddest fan art you've ever seen. It's just like all the Metroid 25th anniversary celebration, like, lonely Samus, or, like, ignored by everyone. It's tradition now.
Well, this year, Pokemon's 20th, they're blowing that out of the water. And Metroid 30, nothing. It gets nothing. So this guy had been working on his own version of Metroid 2 Return of Samus, which released on the original Game Boy. And to be fair, Nintendo does have a version of it out there for Virtual Console. You can actually pay for it and play it. But this guy painstakingly recreated this game by hand, releases it on the day of Metroid's 30th anniversary. Next day, shut down.
It took longer than I thought.
A day?
It was a couple days, because it was the weekend, so the legal guys didn't come in until Monday.
Was it the weekend?
It was over the weekend, yeah.
Was it?
It wasn't until Monday that they shut everything down. It was because I was surprised it took that long.
I got it. I downloaded it.
Oh, I got it. Of course, everybody got it. Like that's the thing is like it's like Sega shut down this because the Streets of Rage remix thing from several years. You remember that? Like it's all 3 games and like 100 extra levels and like you can play it all at once and however you want. It's amazing. It's amazing. And Sega had it shut down within 24 hours. But it's the internet. It's out there. You can get it. However you want. It's not like it's out there. It's gone. It's and. That's it. But it's always going to happen. You can't just remake some international corporation's game and expect their legal team's not going to be like, hey, knock it off. The guy wasn't making any money on it. He was off it. It was just like a labor of love, and now it's out there. And it's amazing.
It really is.
I mean, if you like Zero Mission... by the way, this is what Nintendo should have followed Zero Mission up with.
Right.
A remake of Metroid 2, the least playable game in the series because it was on the frickin' Game Boy.
Right.
And it's also, we forget, until Super Metroid, there was no map.
Yep.
And that sucks.
Yeah.
And he updated this remake with all the Super Metroid bells and whistles, all the Zero Mission bells and whistles. I mean, it feels exactly like playing Zero Mission.
Nintendo should just buy the game.
They should, or they should at least hire him for something. I mean, it's like, look, this dude just did Metroid better than you've done Metroid. If you consider Retro a separate company.
Right.
Since 1993.
Yeah.
So
it is crazy. So this is the series of unfortunate events that brought me to this. All these things just kept adding up until I was just like, I can't take it. I got the YouTube strike, and I was like, screw you. So I put together this list of things that I feel the publishers are doing to squeeze as much money out of fans who, without them, they would have nothing. DLC microtransactions. Look at every game now has, like, cards. Either has the cards or it has like a black market, some way to get like another $2 or $3 out of you at every frickin' turn.
I don't mind. I gotta say, I don't mind like robust DLC. I don't like the microtransaction style DLC. Although sometimes, like I usually if something is like a robust level of DLC, it was like, oh, here's what we would have called expansions back in the day. But I'm feeling kind of down on that these days because I feel like I got really burned by Fallout 4 in that regard. Yeah. I feel like I have never really wanted to return a season pass before, but I kind of do.
Fallout's DLC is pretty terrible.
Yeah, especially because Fallout 3's was great.
It was, yeah. And Bethesda typically their DLC is incredible.
Skyrim's was also really good.
I don't understand how they dropped the ball so hard on this game. I really don't get it, but I hear you. I'm not so... DLC is not so much. It's like the little nickel and diming stuff. Like Halo 5 is really bad with it. All the Call of Duties, Black Ops 3, terrible. Like they put out trailers every week. Here's the new black market items for Black Ops 3.
Bah.
Here, come spend your $1.99, your $2 on this stupid gun skin. Like, the publishers have created this market that led to the whole Counter-Strike, Go, like,
Skin
Lotto
thing,
skin thing. Like, the publishers are the people who are doing this. We're not creating this. Like, they're creating the environment to facilitate sites and things like this and gambling among kids. I mean, really, if you get down to it, like, the ultimate outcome of that was kids gambling.
Yeah, well, that's also what really turns me off about, like, Overwatch, is, like, it's fine that you want microtransactions for these things, but it's like, if I pay an extra $1, can't I just get the thing I want?
Right.
Like, that's the thing that bugs me the most, is, like, how come I gotta play your frickin' slot machine?
Slot machine, yeah.
To, like, just, because, like,
Lotto!
Yeah. It's like, because I don't like gambling. I mean, I like to play, like, poker and stuff like that, but I don't like, just, like, the Vegas style, like, oh, play the slot machines or whatever.
Just sit and wait to get lucky.
It's like, yeah, because it's stupid. Like, I don't have to do anything, and especially with video games, like, normally video games have, like, a skill component, and when you sort of, like, introduce this microtransaction thing where it's just like, good luck! I'm like, no, screw you. I don't want that. I like this costume, and I will pay you money for this costume, but I'm not going to pay you, like, 10 times that much money hoping I get it. Like, that's ridiculous.
But that's the way it all is now.
Of course it is.
Black market's the same thing with Black Ops.
That comes from free-to-play stuff. You know,
yeah,
that's where
but these aren't free-to-play games.
No,
these are games we paid
full
$60 for. And look, one thing I will say I do get is that game prices have not gone up in the U.S. in forever. Like, forever.
Yeah, they're cheaper than they've ever been when you include inflation.
Right.
You know, I paid $89.99 for Chrono Trigger back in the day, and that's like $160 in modern money.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty good deal at this point.
But also the people, the amount of people that are available to buy. I mean, think about
much larger audience.
Yeah, think about the NES. Like how that was a huge console at the time. It was its install base is like a little. It's a speck of sand in the desert. Like,
well, it's also. Entertainment is so widespread and so, disseminated everywhere, and like it's not like the old days before pre-internet. People forget, like, everybody listened to the same album.
Yeah.
Thriller can never happen again because you can listen to any music you would ever want to hear ever. No one will ever have that, basically forced on me. Popular music was what was out, it was what you knew about, and it's what you had to listen to. So, Thriller is going to be the top-selling album for, like, ever, because there will never be that many people forced to listen to one thing again.
Well, the perfect example of that is just, I think it was a month ago, Rihanna's new album came out, and it was #1 for the week, and it was the lowest number of sales for a #1 album ever. It sold like 15,000 copies.
Absolutely nothing.
And it was #1.
But I think that's what you're seeing in stuff like, with the movies and games and stuff. Like, they're spending more and more money to make them bigger and bigger and more spectacular so that people, so you can rise above all the noise.
Yeah.
And, like, compare, like, even adjusted for inflation, like the biggest movies of the 80s and early 90s are nothing budget-wise compared to what people spend now. You know how much Aliens cost?
Yeah, I know.
$18 million. Nothing.
But
also nothing.
But also the revenue generation is expanding. Because now movie tickets used to cost like $4 or whatever, or $5. Yeah. Now it's like you go to see a 3D movie, it's like $19 in LA sometimes. Like, that's crazy.
I paid $20 to see Batman vs. Superman in 3D IMAX, whatever the hell, at the Cinerama Dome.
Yeah.
But like, but then I'll turn around and just be like, I don't know, $14 for that video game, that's a lot of money. It's like, what am I thinking?
Right,
like,
so that's why I brought it up, is because, look, movies, they have gone up. They've quadrupled in price since I was a kid. Video games have stayed the same.
It's cheaper to wait for the Blu-ray now.
It is.
If you're going with with a date, and you intend to eat something,
you're
going to spend $50 minimum.
Oh, yeah, easily. After parking and everything else in LA, going to movies here is insane.
But anywhere, really. I mean, it's I think I know people like out in more rural areas, out in the Midwest and stuff, and even in comparison, they're like, it's like twice what it used to cost to go out to the movies.
Yep. Let's see what else.
So games are actually doing pretty well.
That's why I mentioned it, because I want to make sure this conversation is as even-handed as possible. Pre-order incentives. There's another one. Like, they're like, hey, we'll give you this thing that costs us $3 to make, and you pre-order the game and you're locked into the game with this little trinket, and we'll charge you an extra whatever, like $10 for this trinket, or we'll sell you our collector's edition or a
that's
special
more of a
edition.
collector's edition thing. The pre-order things, because the pre-order bonus stuff is always meaningless inside of an hour. I've never gotten like an in-game anything from pre-order bonus that was useful beyond like the opening tutorial, basically.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm really worried about it. To me, the problem is like all these collector's edition things. And if if you're going to choose to buy it, you're going to choose, it's fine. But like, you know what? I've chosen to buy a couple of these collector's edition things. I don't have the room for them that I used to have, and a lot of them are crazy expensive because like everything comes with a damn statue.
Yeah.
But like I bought a few of these things, and I'll tell you, the quality of this stuff is not on the level of what they're charging.
Oh yeah.
I posted a picture of the Witcher 3 statue in the curation of the statue for the Horizon Zero Dawn statue, which looks great. I have that. I have that ordered. It's probably the first thing like that I bought in a year, aside from No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
But I bought the Witcher. I put a picture of the Witcher 3 one, hand painted, and it looks like someone spit paint on his face. I mean, he's melting. It looks like. And I contacted Warner, whatever the Warner Brothers, because they were the distributor for the physical copies. And I'm like, what the hell? And they're like, well, if you want to return the whole thing, we'll take it back. But like,
they know you're not going to do that.
And I'm like, well, I'm not doing that because I already used the damn code.
Right.
So screw you too.
Greed, right there.
But it's like you're going to charge me this like extra 40, 50. It's one thing. It's like, okay, $10 more gets you the hardened edition of Call of Duty. But it's like
the thing is, you don't know what you're getting when you buy it. That's the rub. They can sell you whatever they want. They can put up a picture and say, this is what you get. When you get it, it's like you said, the paint's like all smeared, and then once you've already cracked open the code and used it, they're not taking it back.
Well, I'm very interested because my No Man's Sky collector's thing hasn't shown up yet because it doesn't come out until Friday, so they haven't shipped yet. I got the code for it, but I don't for the game in the email, but I haven't gotten the actual physical box. And the funny thing, okay, first off, so the metal ship is a hand-painted model, so we'll see what that looks like.
Right, yeah.
And the other items in it were secret until a few weeks ago. We're like, oh, secret, surprising. You know what the items turned out to be?
Pieces of crap, I'm sure.
It was a journal, like a notebook journal with the Atlas thing on it, and a pen that works in space. I get what you're going for there.
But what good is this to me?
Probably not going to need that.
Yeah.
B, how am I ever going to know if you're lying?
Yeah, you can just be in a pen.
I would have to rent a vacuum chamber or something.
Basically, they just have to make sure they send you a pen that doesn't work.
Yeah, it looks like it might be airtight.
Yeah. And doesn't work.
That'll be $40.
Yeah. Let's see. Sequels. The fact that we can't get new IP anymore. That's the publishers being greedy. The publishers have the money. They have the revenue to try new games.
Yeah, there's not even Hollywood has more of an excuse now because a catastrophic high-budget film can ruin a studio these days. But and that can happen in video games too. But the thing about video games is I think the gaming audience is much more accepting of new ideas.
Yeah.
Well, look at No Man's Sky.
How will we know we don't get any anymore?
Well, look at No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky is selling out, and maybe there'll be a lot of returns.
Right, but it don't matter.
But people were willing to jump at it,
right?
Even though they'd never heard of it. It didn't have a number at the end of it.
Yep, you deliver a quality new IP, people are going to come and buy it.
Watch Dogs.
Perfect example.
Talked about Watch Dogs.
Sells better than
it wasn't even very good.
Creed now, and it wasn't even that great. But all we get is sequels. When was the last time you can remember a new IP being announced?
Prey doesn't count.
Let me look at this on this list here. Is there any new IP?
Last Guardian, that was 11 years ago.
None. Every single one of these games from Gamescom has a number after it.
They're all sequels. Yeah. The indie scene is basically your source for new games. I mean, Abzu, I don't know how that's sold.
Yeah, so. And it's also an indie game.
It's also a lower budget indie game. Yeah.
These publishers could use the excuse for a while there. They are making... no, you can't use that anymore. Especially if you're an EA or a Ubisoft or an Activision. There is no excuse. Destiny may be the last new IP. I don't even know. It's so sad, but that's what's happened. And it's keeping us from playing new games with new ideas. DRM.
I mean, Horizon Zero Dawn is new.
Yeah, and that was announced... year and a half, 2 years ago?
Quantum Break came out this year.
Oh, yeah. There's one.
And it's coming out on...
Steam.
Steam.
which is shocking.
Makes me glad I waited for that, because I'd rather have things
Microsoft
on
relented.
Steam.
It was finally like, oh, you know what?
Oh,
if we want to make our
fine.
money back on this game,
Yeah.
we need to sell it on Steam.
And beyond that, I guess. See, now Quantum Break's making me think of. So I'm like, Beyond Two Souls. Or like, I mean, you're not looking at like stuff that was, you come up with the latest new first-person shooter IP. Like they don't exist.
Yeah. DRM. We don't need to talk about DRM and all the shady DRM crap
ridiculous.
that's gone on. And then press access and YouTubers. The fact that the publishers have found this kind of crack in the wall where they can stop working with the traditional press, where they might get somebody who actually has an opinion on something, and they can just slide past any rough edges and get right into that crack where they can just work with these YouTube people. And the focus that the publishers have shifted on to the YouTube folks in very short order. I was just talking to a PR person who will remain unnamed about it this week, and he's very candid about it. He's talking about how, hey, once we figured out we could go around the press and all the people who buy games didn't care and didn't notice, he's like, sayonara, suckers. And that's exactly what they've done. They've cut out the only people who could say something bad about their games that might hurt their sales, and they don't care about integrity or morality. All they care about is selling more games.
Well, and they also have the advantage that, for whatever reason, the core audience perceives the YouTube people as more genuine than press
I know, it
people.
just blows my mind. It really does.
Which is amazing, because no.
Yeah.
You have no safeguards there. And a lot of them are genuine.
Yeah, sure.
I liked, I can't remember the guy's name who did the commentary on the Titanfall 2 footage that you put up on the site
That was
today.
the first time we ever curated from that guy.
But he had a whole thing.
Stone Mountain 64.
Stone Mountain 64, that's right. And he said, like, I went to this event, they flew me out, they paid for everything. I'm more of a multiplayer guy, so like this campaign wasn't really my deal, but I like that there's like, but he was like very upfront about how he got access, what the access was, what his preferences are, and how he thinks. And he was like, hey, not to piss you off, EA, but like I think, I'm open to it, but I'm not seeing anything super special here.
And he's small. He only has like 1 million subscribers compared to like people like T. Martin and all those other shady dudes who got caught in the last 2 weeks.
You get the hype and you get the critical mass from like going crazy and hyping stuff up and being exciting, whereas like this guy seemed like he really wanted to have, he had an opinion and a critical thought kind of process to put on his video, and that probably doesn't attract quite as many people. But I thought he was, I was like, oh, this guy, like I'll probably look at some of his other videos because I liked how he presented himself. But that's not how you get 20 million followers or whatever, I guess.
Yeah, it's not. And look, I get it. Like, I'm sure there's going to be people probably in the chat already, and I'm sure in the comments on when it's archived on SIFT, they're going to be like, they're a business. Your job as a business is to make as much money as possible. And I disagree with that. I don't think that's true. Like,
well, this is the,
I'm running my own
gaming
business.
Journalism has been tainted by bribes over the years. No, where?
Who is saying that?
Swanson.
Swanson, you have no idea what you're talking about. How many days have you worked in game journalism?
I can't think of a single example of
None.
that.
Oh, he'll say Jeff Gerstmann. What was that, 11 years ago?
But that was the
one time ever.
Those two,
and if you actually look at what happened, it didn't happen.
He got fired because he wouldn't do what they wanted him to do.
Because he wouldn't do it. It has never happened. Like, I'm such bullcrap. Swanson, you're full of it, dude. How can you even say that? You've never worked in the industry. You've ever been a games journalist? You ever worked on an editorial team? You haven't. You don't know what you're talking about, dude. And there's millions of people like him on the internet. Everyone who goes to YouTube, they think the same thing. Like, there are people who watch. All the people who worked at GT, I was their boss. I watched them like a hawk. I knew everything they were doing at every moment, unless they were at home. But when they were at work, I knew what they were doing. You can figure out if people are on the take. It's very easy. All you have to do is have a conversation with them every once in a while. Who's talking to the YouTubers? Nobody. And like Matt said, sure, there are good ones. There are really good ones. I know some that I love, that I respect. But the fact of the matter is that there are some dirty ones. And the only way they got caught is because they were stupid.
Yeah.
Or they could have ran that lotto scam forever. Unless the one guy didn't crack and was like, and actually had a conscience and was like, I don't feel right about this. That's the only way they got caught. It would have went on forever. So,
because there's no expectation of a YouTuber and that there is of someone who's working in press. Like there's that kind of, I mean, yeah, there's nothing preventing you from going crooked as a press person, but like usually people who are in that line of work have that ethical code drilled into them already, or they understand that that's just part of the deal. Whereas like that's not necessarily, it's a different world from like just making videos about things.
Yep. I will say one thing that I have noticed over the last month and a half. There are 2 publications who every day are running content about Madden. And look, Madden.
Okay.
About Madden.
Like Madden. What are you reading?
Madden. I probably should have enunciated that better. And look, so I see everything. I see every piece of content that every gaming website and every gaming YouTube channel publishes. All of it. And nobody's covering Madden. Nobody. Like, if there's a new trailer, maybe half the sites will even bother posting a trailer. Because people don't care. Like, I can see it on Sifted. Most people don't care about Madden when we put up stuff, so we don't put up that much of it. But there are 2 websites that almost every day put up an article about Madden. That's all I'm going to say. That raised an eyebrow for me.
Interesting.
But that's what I'm telling you. Like, you can figure out when it's happening. And I don't even know. Maybe if I actually clicked to the articles, I don't even bother reading them because they're like, who's the best defensive back in the AFC West? Like, who cares? That's how frivolous the articles are, by the way, which is also like a huge red flag. Like, anybody who runs content knows that publishing that article, no one's going to frickin' read it. So
that sounds like a contract fulfillment.
Right. And so I don't know, actually. Maybe if I actually clicked on the articles and went to them, it actually says on the article, this is sponsored content from EA. I don't know. And that's why I didn't name the websites also, by the way, because I really don't know. It could be sponsored content that they're totally upfront about. But that just goes to show you that you can pick up on when that stuff is going on. I noticed it just like that, man. So that argument, people on broad, I'm so sick of hearing that crap, man.
I've been in this thing 16 years. I've never heard of a single example.
Yeah, you think people are on broads. You should go to the apartments of game journalists and see how lavishly they live. Yeah, I know. My first 3 years as a game journalist, I couldn't afford train fare. So I'd take a bus and walk 5 miles to work at GameSpot. I'd have to get off at the Transbay bus terminal at like First and Mission or whatever and walk all the way over to 8th and Townsend at the Sega building every day. I walked all the way to work. I walked all the way back because I needed every penny to pay my rent. Where was the bribe, Matt? Where was it?
Would have been useful around
It sure would have helped, let me tell you.
Well, the answer to that will be like, that was back in the good old days before the big money came into game journalism or whatever. It's like, if the big money had come into game journalism in that regard, like, we wouldn't have all been constantly laid off or the sites shut down. Or it's like, well, where was, if we were that so valuable they needed to be bribing us, how come they're all gone?
How many rich game journalists have you seen? Yeah. Other than Keeley, and he didn't get his money from being a game journalist.
The closest you get is like where this stuff like the GameSpot thing, where it was like there was an advertising deal in place, and they were upset what editorial said about the game that the advertising thing had been in place for. And we did plenty of sponsored shows on XPlay where we did previews of whatever, and the whole show was dedicated to whatever. But when it came time for the review, all bets were off. That was always part of the thing. Was like if we hate the game, we're going to say so, and we're always going to give it to a reviewer that did not work on the preview episodes that were paid for marketing. Like that was always part of the deal, and we never backed down from that, even though there were people that were not happy that we were about that. There's a lot of stuff about like, why can't you just like stop being weird about it?
So let's see. Giles Slive says, "Get a bicycle." I did get a bicycle. Do you remember that, Matt?
Yeah, I think that lasted about 3 days.
I had it 3 days.
Yeah. Till somebody stole it.
Dude, I had no money. I was so poor. I put together like $130 and went and bought like this cheap ass Mongoose mountain bike at like Kmart. And I rode that bike I was riding it all the way to the bus terminal where I was living, getting on the bus, putting it on the front of the bus, taking the bus across the bay, getting off at First and Mission, taking the bike off the front of the bus, riding it to work. It lasted 3 days. I came out and somebody had cut through a titanium bike lock like it was butter, and that bike was gone.
I have never in my life seen anyone more prone to having shit stolen than Shane. thieves are attracted to them.
I don't know what it is.
It's like you're wearing a buzzer or something.
get it.
Constantly in my adult life, I have never known anyone that got more stuff stolen than you, or broken into.
Oh, this is fun.
Like
this chat is getting fun here. Unfashionable. The rich journalists left and worked for companies like Luke Smith at Bungie. Luke Smith left because he was far from rich. That's why they go and work for publishers, because they're all poor.
Because that's where you're going to get an actual salary, and you're probably not going to get laid off because no one reads your site anymore.
They don't leave because they're rich to go someplace else. They leave to go get rich.
Or at least to get a living wage.
Yeah, that's why I don't hate on journalists who go to work at publishers. I'll never do it because I've always wanted to be a journalist. It's what I went to school for. But these people who just kind of fall into being games journalists, I don't begrudge them one bit for leaving to go work at a publisher. I don't. Does it make me second guess some of their reviews that they did while they were working there? Maybe a little, but I don't blame them for it at all. Like, you gotta survive, you gotta make a living. Like, money just doesn't come up out of the ground, and you sure the hell aren't getting bribes from whoever. How do you even get a bribe from a publisher? How does that work? What's the process? Do you meet them at a bar and they give it to you in cash? Like, they write you a check, you can track it, so how do they pay you a bribe?
All those debug 360s are just full of money. They don't actually work. You didn't know that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I got one. Maybe I should go crack it open. I missed my bribe.
You can tell he's agitated because he keeps banging the wedding ring.
Yeah, the ring just keeps smacking the table over and over again.
Somewhere, like, someone's watching this and be like, stop.
Someone with headphones on.
Other hand.
I get the pen in the other one. So anyway, to wrap things up, like, I feel like the publishers are 1,000% in it for profit. You know, I feel like every once in a while, and some people say that's what you're in business for. I disagree with that. There are lots of corners I could have cut with Sifted to make money, and I refuse to do it and won't do it. And some people would say, well, then you're dumb or whatever. I'm just not cutthroat like that. I have like a conscience and morals. So
that's very bad for business.
Yeah, sometimes it's not. Sometimes people pick up on it and they appreciate it and they support you because of it. And that's what I want to build here. So, and look, I feel
like that's the thing. When people say bad for business, they mean bad for getting to the top of the world.
I don't care. I don't want to get to the top of the world.
Right, but that's what I'm saying is, like, that's what runs on people's minds when it comes to that kind of thing. And, like, it's like, yeah, if that's not what you're after, then that's not what you're going to do.
And that's not what I'm after. I want a website that can sustain the people who work on it and can make a wage and survive off of it. I don't want to be rich. It's just like Puff Daddy says, or whoever the hell wrote the song, Mo Money, Mo Problems. Biggie, I think, wrote that one. Is that right?
That's Notorious.
Notorious B.I.G.? Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, one of those guys.
Yeah. Some conscience in business is not a bad thing. And I feel like the publishers have... Look, there's levels of it, right? There's like, making as much money as you can off your software. And then there's like nickel and diming like your fans who are creating content because they love your products. Like, that's to me where it just gets dirty and out of bounds. And that's what I'm trying to say here is that...
Yeah, I don't
have a problem with them. I don't even have as big a problem with the DLC. It's like, I just can't comprehend how Nintendo thinks it's worth its time to hire people to track YouTube videos. And so when they first did it, I was like, that's insane.
I think it's a vestige of Nintendo's like traditional like obsessive want for control over their
But then 2K did it. And I was like, holy crap, now like a Western company's done it. That's crazy. And then the final nail in the coffin was Ubisoft this week. I'm like, I can't do it anymore. Like, it's crazy.
Well, like the YouTube is a wild west to some degree in that because it's like Jim Sterling has gone around and around on this about it's obviously defensible fair use, but you can't fight that because you aren't a mega corporation.
I worked in fair use for 20 years. I know exactly what fair use is. I can repeat like the law as it's written verbatim, and they don't care. Mm-hmm. They don't care. They give you a little space, write a paragraph about it. I explain everything about how it's fair use, blah blah blah. Denied. Strike,
I think they should just step away for PR reasons away from the content ID stuff because stopping someone from uploading entire movies to YouTube is one thing, but it's like if you're just nailing a little guy for no good reason, like you have to defend the trademark, you have to shut down the Metroid 2 remake. I get it. For comparison, they don't shut down like the Pokemon fan games. Like Pokemon Uranium just came out.
It just came out today, though.
Well, no,
I bet in 2 days.
It's not. No, it's not the first. It's not the first Pokemon fan game. There's tons of them, and they're all fine. You know, they don't get shut down because they're not remakes.
Yeah.
They're not appropriations of. They're appropriations of Nintendo's trademarks in the sense that they're fan games based on their property, but they are not appropriations of their actual game, and they will not be, attacked for that reason. Because the Metroid 2 remake is literally a remake of a Nintendo-published game. That's why they.
Well, there's a caveat in fair use. It's called what is the phrase?
Transformative.
Transformative, yeah.
Yeah, and you can it would be a long, hard case, but you could probably win that case with Pokemon Uranium.
But Nintendo's
it's
lawyers,
all new Pokemon. It's the concept.
Nintendo's so litigious too.
Oh, yeah.
It will go after one YouTuber.
Well, I don't think they'll go after Pokemon Uranium.
We'll see.
They've never gone after any of the other Pokemon games, which are just as much on that level. What they should go after is all the pirate DS cartridges and stuff on them. Because I'll tell you, trying to complete your Pokemon collection on eBay, don't even try it.
They're all fake.
They're all fake. Every single one of them is fake. It's ridiculous. Either that or it's like, here, buy Pokemon Black 2 with all 649 Pokemon. Legit tournament approved. I'm sure they're totally legit. I'm sure those are all real.
Yeah.
I'm sure you spent hundreds of hours on this game collecting all the Pokemon and you didn't win a single badge. Interesting.
Yep. All right, it's time to move on to the moment you guys all been waiting for, our discussion on No Man's Sky. Where do we even begin? Let's just talk about let's start at the base level.
What's the base level?
The base level is, do we like or enjoy the game or not? Matt.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to expand on that? A lot.
No. We're just going to... Good night.
You like it a lot.
I like it a lot. The gameplay loop of this game tickles that particular dopamine receptor of mine that was placed there by Starflight and the original Elite, and all those old sort of... they weren't open world because that didn't exist yet, but those games where it was just like, here's a giant universe to play in, and you're going to have to really use your imagination a lot.
Right.
But, it's here, and you can kind of do it. And that's what Starflight was to me. It's what Star Control was to me. It's what Elite, the original Elite was. It's what Wasteland was. Try playing the original Wasteland today. It doesn't work. There's nothing there. But this is kind of like, what if someone made Starflight with modern tech, sort of modern tech? Kind of, it looks okay. But I probably put 40-something hours into this game. About 18 or so that was pre-patch, which we both lived through.
Yeah.
But I took this game home. We got it around
Friday
afternoon. I put it in around 4 p.m. and I stopped playing at 4 a.m.
You played it for
12
hours
straight. And here's the thing about this game. It is so rough around the edges.
Yeah.
It is so the same thing over and over. I have scanned the same rock so many times.
Let me make a really good point, actually, before we get sort of deeper into the conversation. So I was recording footage for this segment. I knew it was going to be a part of the show a couple days ago. And basically, in 35 minutes of footage, and this is what you're watching right now, it's a 35-minute clip that you will definitely see the whole thing by the time this discussion's over. I encapsulated the entire game in 35 minutes. The only feature of the game...
It is absolutely a gameplay loop.
The only feature of the game that you won't see in this 35 minutes is space combat. I never got attacked during this. And I think there was one other thing that I didn't get. Oh, galactic warping, which is basically just going to a map screen, and if you have
You go to the map screen, and then
if you have the proper drive, you can fly there.
Yeah, and it's basically a load screen.
It's pointless. It actually kind of looks like this, except it's just a load screen.
Yeah.
But the only element that's not missing...
And it's the place you're most likely to crash.
Yeah, you're right.
The game, not the ship.
Yeah.
The game.
But the only element of the game that's not missing from this 35-minute clip is a space battle, which, by the way, I have never won a single space battle. I have lost every single one.
Here's the thing about the space battles. I think I'm at 40-something ships shot down.
I shoot him down, but I get to the third one and he kills me before I kill the third one.
I've only died once in like 40-some hours because
I don't know how that's possible.
The game's really easy to me.
You haven't even died from like a crash or a glitch?
No.
Wow.
It was the time, remember we both had the same glitch very early on in the pre-patch version where the ship just laid on its side and wouldn't move.
Yeah.
And then we had to like restore the last save. Like that's the only, I mean, I don't know if you count that as a death. The game did. But I didn't die. The game broke.
Yeah.
So the only time I've actually died is I responded to a distress signal and I didn't notice there were 5 of them. And I got housed.
Every distress signal that I've responded to, there's nothing there. There's nothing.
Yeah?
You go there, and there's a little icon that floats around in space, and as soon as you get close to it, it just flies away.
Right. Well, because it's just like a general area. Usually there's freighters, and you'll see like little fighters like attacking them, and that's what you're supposed to kill the fighters.
I had no idea.
Because the game doesn't tell you that.
I had no idea.
I
even Googled it, and there are tens of thousands of people out there right now that are like, the distress signals are broken.
But then, see, that's the thing is they're not broken. They're just so vague, no one knows what they're supposed to do.
Well, just like every other part of the game, you assume you go to the icon.
Right.
And then you get there, and it flies away from you.
Well, because you should get to the icon, and you should get like a little radio chatter thing or something that says, hey, help us, like we're being attacked by things. But you get nothing.
Yeah.
And it stays there
forever
unless you deal with it.
Yeah, I keep going back.
And that's the thing is like there's no time limit on it. It's like the ships will just attack each other forever until you leave the system, and that's it. Wait,
I need to answer the questions of whether I enjoyed it.
Right.
So, I would say overall, I'm glad I played it. Mm-hmm. I guess is the best way I could put it. There have been times where I've really enjoyed it, but most of the time I've found playing the game annoying. I guess is the best way to put it. And the other thing I would say right off the top is that how much you enjoy this game, and this is probably the first game I've ever said this about in my life, how much you enjoy this game is based a lot on luck. Because everything is randomly generated. It's just the roll of the dice. Like, we came in today, and we started talking, and you were talking about all the animals. By the way, Matt has turned into a viral video star this week. He uploaded like a little clip of the. You tell the story.
No, the Swagosaurus Rex, which I put up because I thought was my favorite thing I found.
He posted in the comments
I put it in the comments of Gaif, and I put it in a couple other forums. I think I put it on Gaff.
Yeah.
And suddenly it started getting a lot of views.
It exploded.
Somebody had gifted it and put it on. I didn't post it on Reddit, but somebody posted on Reddit. It was the #1 post on Reddit gaming. It was number 9 on the Reddit front page. It's up to like 150,000 views on YouTube. The GIF the guy made is up to like 2.3 million.
It's unreal.
It's
awesome.
And so I'm like, yeah. So very briefly, a little bit of internet immortality. No one really knew it was me, but I think internet fame is probably best experienced anonymously.
Yeah. So anyway, he became like an internet.
If I'd known it was going to do that, I would have slapped a Sifted logo on it or something.
And put ads against it, and made some money. So anyway, back to what I was saying about luck. So luck can be a factor in this game right from the very beginning because when you start the game, you start on a randomly generated planet. And Matt said he started on a planet that was beautiful and lush,
beautiful,
perfect weather.
Yeah.
I started on a planet that was basically a crater of an asteroid with like 300-degree temperatures outside, and like I couldn't even hardly get started in the game because if you leave your ship, you have a little meter, and depending on how hot or how much radiation, it doesn't really matter what it is. It's all the same crap.
It's an environmental hazard. And it's different colors.
You have a meter, and you can see it there on the screen. It's like the green meter that you're seeing there on the left.
That's the radiation one.
Yeah, right now it's radiation.
It's radiation, heat, cold, and toxic.
Right. And so when you get out of your ship, depending on how hot it is or how tough the radiation is, that meter will go down. And once that meter goes all the way down, you start losing health. And so if you
take shield damage, and then you lose health. Yeah.
And if you start out on a planet that is awful, you're screwed. Like, it can make the beginning of the game really difficult.
You found rare, one of the rare materials.
I've found tons of that stuff.
I haven't found any of that in my... I found the second planet...
this is exactly what I'm talking about.
The second planet I went to in the pre-patch game had Omegon on it, which is like super rare, and I need it for like a bunch of top-level upgrades I want right now that I have blueprints for. But I haven't found any planets with any purple stuff on it anywhere.
Yeah, I found tons of it. But that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, luck plays in so much into this game and how much enjoyment you have. Because other problems I had is I went to a planet. I landed my ship. I did not have enough fuel for my ship to take off, so I needed to find a very particular element. Well, again, it was a really awful planet where I could stay outside for maybe 30 seconds before I would die. So I was trapped inside my ship, and like I would basically jump out of my ship, run as fast as I could until my meter got to halfway, turn around, run back. And I did this.
Did anybody steal your ship? Did someone steal your ship while you were gone?
No.
No. There's the chat saying it's like, oh, someone probably stole Shane's ship.
No, nobody's. That hasn't happened yet. But there's just a lot of chance. There was another case where I landed on this planet that was basically like little modules of land with valleys all around it that would go all the way down into radiation and then go back up. I fell off a cliff and got down to where I couldn't get back up to where my ship was. It took me an hour plus to get back to my ship again.
And I explained when I came in and we talked about it, I explained like if you push up against a vertical surface and you just hold the jetpack, you'll climb it.
All the way
up.
That.
I've climbed mountains doing that.
I never knew that.
But because the game doesn't tell you.
Well, I don't even know if it's supposed to. I think it's just like a physics
No,
quirk.
that was intentional.
Oh, really?
Because there's a little thing that pops up while you're doing it that says hold X to climb surfaces with the jetpack. Yeah.
Wow.
But it doesn't tell you that until you're already doing it.
Oh, boy.
So one of my problems with this game, look, I love this game. I'm having a great time playing this game. I don't know if I'd recommend it to anyone.
I really don't know if I would either.
Because like you have to be ready to like do a lot of work for it. And I feel like in 6 months, maybe like by Christmas, it will be a much more solid experience. But like right now, like if you hear the concept of this game and you're like, oh wow, that sounds amazing, you'll probably like it. At least like it, maybe not love it. But like if you're like, oh, maybe like wait and see what they do with this thing is kind of my
Here's the irony,
feeling right
though.
now. And this is someone who was like, I can't wait to leave here and go back and start playing again.
Yeah.
But it's like every single negative like comment about this game I've read, not like this is like, it sucks, it's garbage. Like that's useless talk. But like people that are specifically going through and saying, I don't like this and this doesn't work and this isn't cool. I'm just reading those. I'm just like, yep, you're right. You're right. And it's like, that stuff doesn't bother me, but it's like you can't deny that this game is so rough around the edges it'll cut you if you don't if you don't handle it carefully enough.
Here's the
and it sounds
thing
like
about this game.
You're getting cut a lot.
Yeah, I've had some really bad luck playing this game, but some of it is just really the way the game's built. Like you can just get trapped in a position where you're screwed. Like
I don't agree with that.
I'm not the only person who's saying this, Matt. There are thousands of people online who are having the same thing happen to them.
But what I'm saying is that they aren't trapped. They just don't know what to do.
No,
and the game doesn't
the resources. Like you totally get screwed if you don't have the right resources.
The right resources are on every planet.
Yeah, I know. And sometimes you have to travel like 5 miles to find that one little shard of plutonium. Like you can totally get screwed in this game, Matt. Like I cannot believe you haven't got screwed. Like dozens of times over.
Not even remotely close.
I don't believe that. I really do not believe it. You're like
There's
the only person on the
planet.
There is, but sometimes it's like 6 miles away, dude.
Like you said,
that's the only thing that'll get your jet off the ground. Like, and if you're on a planet that has crappy weather and you have none of it, and there's none within 100 yards, it sucks.
But there's always a way to get around that.
How?
Okay, was there any iron on the planet? Or any?
Sometimes there's like 3 elements around you within 100 yards.
Every planet has iron, carbon, plutonium,
every planet
iridium.
has all of them. As far as I can tell, every planet has everything.
No, they don't.
But dude, they're planets. Like sometimes you go to the other side of the planet to get stuff. Like
not the basics,
random nature of this game screws this game. Like
not the basics.
It doesn't do enough positive to make it outweigh the negative. Like sure, everything's randomly generated, but at this point, like I've played 25, 30 hours, everything looks the frickin' same. Like there's nothing striking about any of the planets.
Well, I don't agree with that at all. There's a lot of planets that are not striking.
You either find a dead planet or you find a live planet. The dead planets are red, purple, and green. The live planets are green and blue with water. Like, there's 2 variants, and everything just starts blending all together.
Every time you kill a guy in Call of Duty, you shoot a soldier model, the same soldier model.
We're not talking about Call of Duty right now.
But I'm talking about like you're simplifying it to the point of absurdity. Like that's not true. What you said is not true.
What did I say that's not true?
Every planet looks the same because they don't. They're all using the same elements.
They all
but
look
like
the same after a while.
I can list you at least 5 planets. I've been to like 60 planets, and a lot of them do look the same. But I've been to 5 or 6 of them that I remember.
But again, that's where the luck comes in. Like
but
earlier,
that's also what the appeal is.
You don't have to slam the table to make your point. It doesn't make your point any more valid.
Talk to your wedding ring about that.
But that's completely irrelevant, Matt. What I'm talking about is the luck factor in this game. Like, you came in, you said, I have filled out what is essentially my Pokédex. And I said, I've seen 15 animals. 15! Every planet I go to is just dead. There's nothing there. It's a wasteland with radiation, with like a couple like spikes of like stuff like that I can mine. Like, luck plays way too big of a role in this, and it's because it's randomly generated. You've had a great experience. You've been very lucky, man.
But it was the
Look
same...
around online. Most people are saying the same crap I am. Everything looks the same. The animals look dumb because they're just snapped together from random parts. Your monster that went viral, that thing looks dumb as shit.
That's hilarious, but that's the best thing about it.
But this game is... That's why this game is so divisive, is because some people have great experiences with it where they don't get screwed, and some people get completely freaking screwed. And I've got screwed, and if you go and look on most message boards and people discussing the game, they're also saying, I got screwed. I've read the same story of people going to a planet, not having enough juice to get up off the planet with their jump jets, and having to spend 2 hours trying to find plutonium to get off the planet's surface. That's not fun.
That's survival games.
Fun. It sucks. It's not fun for anybody.
That's survival games.
They're not all that way.
It's why I only
played survival games. I've played Don't Starve.
I only got an hour into Don't Starve because I thought it was boring as fuck.
And I agree. And so is this in a lot of ways. It's boring as crap.
But it's all about the setting. See, like
the setting is the same. It's
the setting is not a Tim Burton book.
Look,
so it's not the same setting as Don't Starve.
The procedural generation is a technological breakthrough. I will say that. It is. It totally is. Like there's no loading going from like a galaxy to a planet.
Oh, yeah,
but
that's not procedural much as like just that's how they design
whatever.
What it was. I mean, there's
but
other
it
games where
also
you can
totally screws the game. I would much rather have a guided, not even guided, but a pre-built universe full of actual interesting stuff to do. I've been doing the same 30-minute gameplay loop for 25 hours. Nothing ever changes. Like the same monoliths are on the same planets, the same buildings, everything's snapped together. The world doesn't work. I've come across bases where like they're down into the ground and like the door to get in is completely covered by the ground. Like,
I haven't seen that post-patch.
I've seen crazy shit. I've seen buildings floating in midair. I've seen boulders floating in midair. Like, at the end of the day, I would much prefer this game if they had just hand-built the whole damn universe and made it more varied. Do we need quintillion or whatever the hell number of that? We don't need it. Like, there's no interaction with other people. I've never seen another person. 2 people actually tried to meet up in this game and couldn't even see each other. Like, and here's the thing. Like, I have enjoyed my time with it. And, like, the thing about it is that it's a $60 game, and the value that you can get out of this game, if you're lucky and things fall right, is, like, astronomical. Because the replay value for the game could be better than any game ever. But the problem is that a lot of people just get screwed with the roll of the dice, and it sucks. It sucked for me.
What I'm going to say as someone who has played it as much as you have, and I don't think luck is as much of a factor as much as knowing how to survive and what you need to do in these situations. And the problem with the game that I have in that context, because my girlfriend started on what was basically an ice ball, like not a nice planet.
Yeah.
And I kind of sat there and like helped her, like, oh, do this instead, because like the game doesn't help. The game does not tell you, and I don't want to say that it doesn't give you the tools to survive properly, because you do have the tools. The problem is the game doesn't communicate to you how to use what you have and how to take advantage of the environment. Like, you're supposed to, I know it's the survival game thing where you're supposed to discover that, but like, in a game this large and with this like kind of like scale, especially, I mean, not even the scale of like flying from planet, I mean the scale of like the fact that the planets are the size of planets. Like, just tell us what to do early on.
That would help too. I mean, it doesn't
it's like let's say you're stuck on a planet, you can't find a plutonium, you don't have any more plutonium, and you're tank.
Even if the scanner would just tell me, like, where the
hang
hell
on,
is the plutonium?
hang on.
You
Just
can
hang
fix
on.
it so easy. Just spawn it next to me. Look at my inventory.
But that's not how this kind
say,
of thing
hey,
works.
his ship is out of gas.
Can it do that?
He needs plutonium, so let's spawn some plutonium within 100 yards of the ship. It's so easy.
I don't think that's how it works, though.
Well, obviously not.
But I mean, no, that's not what I mean. What I mean is, like, can it even do that?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
Is the game smart enough to do that?
That's what I'm saying. The game isn't smart enough to make a fun game to play. That's my whole point.
Well, no,
their procedural generation is not smart enough to generate a game that is fun for everyone to play. Would you agree with that?
No. I would say that that's not why it's not fun to play. I would say that it's not
because
fun.
I honestly would have really enjoyed this game if it was that way.
But what I'm saying is that's not what they wanted to make. Like, a survival game, you can get screwed in that. But also what I'm saying is I will bet that if I was, whatever situation you were in, if I was able to take a look at that, I would have been able to find a way out of it. Because I know more about how the game functions because I spent so much time, like, experimenting with shit and doing shit that, like, the game is...
Explain to me how I would have got out of that bind.
Well, I'd need to see the planet, but basically, so let's say you have your temperature stuff is going down so fast that you can't, like, deal with it, right?
Well, I could run about 100 yards away before I have to turn around and come back or I die.
So what I would do there is you don't have any recipes for shield shard stuff, I assume.
No.
Because it's very early. Okay. So what I would do is once your temperature stuff runs out, it starts taking down your shield. And when the shield goes down, it takes out your health. What I would do is I would look around for any kind of zinc plants, because all the zinc plants look the same. This is another weird thing. I know
zinc is completely rare. That's one of the most rare things I hardly ever find.
No, it's not.
But for me it is, Matt. That's what I'm telling you. It's different for everyone. You cannot say what happened to you happens to everybody else.
But I'm not talking about what happened to me at the beginning.
That's my whole point. But it's different for everyone.
I've been to 60 fucking planets and zinc is everywhere. How is it that different everywhere?
That's your game. I'm telling you.
It's not my game. It's one server. It's the whole. Everyone's on the same fucking universe.
You need to calm down that.
Because you're just yelling at me about all this shit.
I'm not yelling at you. I'm explaining my point.
Stop devaluing what I've done in this game.
I'm telling you, everybody is devalued in this game, Matt, because it's different for everyone.
But it can't be that different because every fucking planet has the same shit on it.
Yeah, well, it's a planet, dude. You know how big a planet is?
I have never seen a situation in a planet where the plutonium was that far apart. Like,
It
even
was.
on the barren
I'm telling
shit.
you it was. And you can use the scanner. Even if
But what I'm saying is,
they
like,
could also fix it very easily.
I have never seen a situation in this game where there's nothing near your ship that you can't use, be it iron or zinc to recharge your shields because your shields are going down
Your
from the...
jump jets don't work on iron, dude, to get you off the planet. It's plutonium.
No, I'm talking about your shield.
You mean my personal shield?
Your personal shield. Use zinc to recharge your personal shield.
And I'm telling you, zinc, for me, with my game that was generated, is one of the most rare elements in the whole game for me. That's what I'm saying. When I ever do find it, there's 2 of them. And I get my 2, and then otherwise I have to buy it at the space station. I hardly ever come across zinc. That's what I'm trying to tell you, Matt. You can't look at your experience. That's why this game's hard to evaluate and why people haven't put reviews out, because you can't definitively tell somebody what they're going to experience with this game. You just can't. It is different for every single person. And some people have bad luck. I've had crap luck, shit luck playing this game. It's happened over and over to me. And I go online and I'm like, is it just me? It's not just me. And I'm sure for you, you've had a great experience. I'm sure if you look...
I don't know if I'd say great.
Well, whatever. You've enjoyed the game for the most part. Like, I haven't. Like, more than half my time has been dealing with crap like this. And I'm sure if you went and looked on the internet, you could find people who have had the same experience that you have, where there's always zinc and there's always plutonium next to your ship when you need it. You can't just say, this is what's happened to me in this game, and this is what's going to happen to everybody. It's not that way. And in some ways, I like that about this game. I like that it's different, and I think that's why it has replay value beyond any game maybe ever. But the problem for me is that I can't fight through the repetition and doing the same crap and just like babysitting like 50 meters at once. It just gets annoying. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, another meter's run out. Screw you. Like, I'm not as far as you. I have, like, I don't know, like, my ship has like 20 slots. My character, my exosuit has like 15 slots or something. I'm sure you probably have more than that. But it gets annoying. Like, it's just not fun a lot of the time. And then it's repetitive at the same time. It's like I just said, in 35 minutes, I captured the whole game. Like, every element of the game in 35 minutes. And yet, I've played the game over 20-some hours.
Can you... Well, yeah, that's the question. But, like... Okay, so you should... In 30... See, that's the kind of thing about this game I don't understand what people are saying when they say stuff like, in 35 minutes, I captured, like, the... Name me a game you can't do that with.
Do what with?
In 35 minutes, name me a game you can't capture every gameplay element with.
Oh, well, lots of games. Because lots of games teach you stuff as you go. You don't even get certain weapons and abilities until 20, 30 hours into the game.
Well, that's not what I mean, though. Like, in terms of everything you can do in a game, let's say everything.
But that's what I mean when I'm talking about this game. It gives you everything. Like, there it is. And in 35 minutes, you can do it all.
That seems to be how survival games work. It's about, like, acquiring stuff and figuring out how it works.
I'm not trying to put the game in a box. I'm just saying, I played this game. This is what I think of it. I'm not saying it's a survival game, so it should or shouldn't do this. I'm just saying it's a video game that I played, and this is what it does. I never go and evaluate games with preconceived notions. It's like everyone's saying that they're, like, pissed off at, like, Hello Games because it wasn't what they were promised. I don't even care. I don't even know what they promised. All I know is I went
This game is pretty much exactly what they said it was going to be.
It seems that way, but all I know is I went and I bought a video game, I put it in my PlayStation 4, and I started playing it. And now I'm telling you whether I'm enjoying it or not. That's all there is to it. And again, your experience seems to be a lot different than mine, which doesn't really seem that crazy considering the game was built to be randomly generated.
It's not randomly generated.
Or whatever. It's that semantics. It's been created so that everyone has a different experience.
But it's like, that's not, again, that is not the key to the problems with this game, the procedural generation thing. I mean, it's the key in the sense that, like, all the animals look like, somebody pasted together magnetic poetry zoo animals. But, like, you mean most of Skyrim is also procedurally generated. There hasn't been a non-procedurally generated forest in an open-world game since 2006. Like,
yeah, but there's a big difference between just plopping trees down randomly and building an entire galaxy or universe or multiple universes or whatever. I don't even know what it is. My astrology is obviously not great, but...
Astrology is the zodiac
There you
symbols.
go. I just made my point for me.
But these worlds are basically generated very similarly to how you would generate any open world. And, Skyrim is done the same way. But then someone takes Skyrim and says, okay, the forest is here. Like, we're going to cut a path through here. Someone physically makes the situations and some of the things. But 99% of it is done like this.
I would enjoy this game way more if that's the way this game were.
But, like, you can't have
and
this
I would
game
feel
do that.
You can't. Well, no, obviously the way they build
they're trying to do that sort of with Elite Dangerous now. That's not in place yet, but they're trying to do some of that with that, but it's like
But it goes back to what you were saying, Matt. Like, you won't recommend this game to anyone. That speaks to my point. And neither can I. Like, I can't in good conscience go to someone and say, you're going to love this game, because I honestly really have no idea what kind of experience the game is going to give them. I don't.
Well, even
because
on top of
ours
that,
are like polar opposites.
But even on top of that, like,
free flowing, you never died. I've been tortured. I have been tortured by this game. I'm not even kidding. I have yelled at my TV screen so many times. I have gotten so angry having to, like, replenish something again. I'm like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm sick of you. Blah. I'm like, and the worst part is, like, I really start to enjoy myself, and then those elements start coming in, and they just take away the fun. Like, I almost feel like this game should have just been like a walking simulator. I hate to say it. Like a game where you just go out and adventure and check everything out, because that's when I'm actually enjoying myself in this game. It's not when I'm managing, like, my inventory and making sure I have enough of blah, blah, blah to fill up blah, blah, blah. Like, that's when I hate playing this game. It's when I'm flying from one place to another and just checking stuff out. And even, like, the limited little bit of lore, like, I've enjoyed a good bit of that, even though it's really cryptic and thin. But the survival...
And not recorded anywhere.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is, like, there's a lot... For everything the game does right, there's like 5 different ways I can think that it could be better. And maybe it will be eventually. But like I said before we went on, like, if I was having to review this for like X-Play, like, I'd probably be sitting around like a 3 out of 5.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard.
Maybe I would want to give it a 4 because I like it so much, but like, if I'm really being realistic about it, it's kind of a 3.
Because there are certain elements of
I thought
games...
Jim Sterling's video that he took down because people freaked out about it or DDoS'd him or something. I thought Jim Sterling had a lot of good points in his video if he ever puts it up again and you can watch it.
I mean, there are certain facets of this game that nobody can deny or have problems and are broken. I mean, everyone's had like bugs and crashes and issues.
Well, the drawing distance is just
horrific. Stuff like that doesn't even bother me. I mean, that's going to drop its graphic score a little bit.
It's part of the nature of it, but it's like, I hope they keep working on that.
That stuff doesn't piss me off, though. It's like the broken parts of the game are what piss me off. Like getting stuck on an invisible object trying to leave the planet and my ship exploding, and then having to fix the damn thing and having no elements around to fix it. Like, and then falling off a cliff and getting stuck in a network of caves that I couldn't find my way out of. Like, that's the parts of this game that I don't like, and those are just facts. That's not like an opinion. That's a fact. Like, the randomly generated worlds don't account for certain parts of it. It just can't. Like, I don't even know if it's ever possible to be able to make a game like this that doesn't have the issues that this game has. I just don't know. Maybe 10 years? I don't even know. Like, maybe 10 years from now?
Like, I feel like if they can refine... Like, what was your estimate? That this game, like, lasts, like, 5 years, maybe?
Yeah. Like, it's run as far as, like, people playing it and...
Like, I feel if they keep working on it, you know, because it seems like they're dedicated to kind of continuing.
They're in it to win it, for sure.
Like, I feel like, you know, revisiting this game in, like, a year, you know, similar to Destiny, like, it might be just a very different experience. Maybe a possible one for you to revisit in the sense that they say that the updates are going to be free as opposed to Destiny where you have to buy an expansion to get the better game. But
I mean, some people may just want to replay this game, or maybe start over to see if they have a better dice roll when they start the game.
Well, I'm about to start it again tomorrow on the PC version, and I'm going to look. So I've started 2 different games of this. First the pre-patch. What was your pre-patch start like?
Both of them were bad.
Really?
Yeah.
Because the pre-patch game I played, I played like the 12 hours straight. And the next morning, I started playing some more, and I think we were texting, and I was like, I didn't say anything because I wanted to save it for the show, but I was getting worried because I was like, every planet's the same. Not in the sense that every planet's the same, it's like, oh, it uses the same tree. I'm talking, I went to like 15, 16 different planets. They all had tons of animals, they all had tons of plants. It was like the same jungle with a different leaf. You know,
I've never even seen a jungle in this game.
And it was I mean jungle in the sense there's a lot of trees. Like there's only one planet I've been to that I would call like a forest.
Yeah,
I called it Alaska.
Yeah,
it looks like there was dense enough trees, and I'm like, oh, I'm like in a forest. Everything else is like patch of trees, open plain, patch of trees, open plain, patch of trees.
Yeah.
But like I was like, every planet has everything on it. Every planet has tons of animals, tons of rocks, tons of everything, tons of water, tons of land. I mean, and like after the patch, everything became much more scattered and different. Yeah. Whereas like I thought like the pre-patch world, I'm like, oh, I guess they must have like just had everything on each world as kind of like a test there to make sure they weren't boring worlds or something.
It seems like the more I ventured around each planet, it seems like every planet has everything on it. But sometimes you just have to travel really far to get to some of them.
Well, I've actually been keeping a actual literal log of, not literal, that would be an actual piece of wood, but an actual like planet log of everything I find on each planet. And eventually I realized, okay, iridium and plutonium and carbon and iron are on every planet, so I'm not going to keep it unless a...
That's another one, iridium. I had to travel literally 5 virtual miles to find iridium one time.
The tall...
To repair the ship after it
At least
up.
You can see them from a long way out, because they're the tall blue columns.
Yeah.
But the thing, aluminum, iridium, nickel, copper, all the green elements, like usually each planet seems to have 2 or 3 of those.
Yeah.
Maybe one. And then there's every planet has a different colored crystal besides the plutonium. Like you can see the plugins, and it's like weird in that like the animals don't make sense for the biome they're in. Like if you're on an ice planet, like the creatures are like don't have fur. You know what I mean? Like if you're
the creatures are just like Frankensteins.
The creatures
they're
are
just
fun.
randomizing and snapping it together. Sometimes they're fun, sometimes they're dumb. Like
one
of the animals I found in this footage is just like a plant that hops.
Oh, I found a whole planet of those. Like I'm not kidding. Like big, like ones the size of houses down to ones that are like tiny little ones. Like it was 7 different species of hopping plant.
Yeah,
that was the whole thing. And I named the planet the Sanskrit word for hop.
But I have found no animals in this game. I found 15 or 20 animals total.
There's a hopping one. There's one.
Yeah, there they are.
It's ridiculous. So like, but and there's no food chain. There's no ecology to it. Like there's no predator.
I see
there's
them,
no.
like,
I mean, they have
chase each other every once in a while.
Sort of, but like they have a like if you when you scan them, it says disposition or whatever, like hunter, or prey, or docile or whatever.
Right.
But that never plays. Like in Far Cry. I mean, I can't expect this to be Far Cry Primal, but like even Spore had that. Spore had like niches for the food chain that each creature occupied. And I don't see why this game couldn't have something like that. It's weird in that you've generated all this stuff and you don't do anything with it. Also, a fun little thing when you scan a creature, look at it when if you find another creature, scan a creature. The height and weight.
I hope I'll find another one.
The height and weight
that really suck.
The height and weight are reversed.
Here's the hopping planets I was telling you about.
Yeah. So if you scan a creature, until the next update, I guess they'll probably fix it. But the height and weight are backwards.
Yeah.
They're given a height in kilograms and a weight in meters, because that's what happens when you crunch.
Yeah. I think my final word on this would be the coolest thing about this game is what makes it not very fun to play, and that's that it's randomly generated. But it also, consequently, is the thing that could make it have legs beyond any single-player game ever before.
Well, I did want to talk about briefly the space stuff.
Okay.
Because as a space combat fan,
I've had no luck with the space
combat.
combat.
No, but I mean, even aside, first off, like they need to let you lock onto enemies, like a specific enemy.
Well, the laser kind of does.
No,
not specifically.
Well, I know it tracks when you're, but I mean, like you need to be able to lock on, and then because when they're off the screen,
automatically reorient to follow the guy.
No. When they're off. See, this is what happens when a genre disappears for 20 fucking years, is no one remembers how to make these things anymore. But what I mean is, like, how it goes off your view and you get the little red arrows. If you're being attacked by multiple ships, there's all these red arrows. You can't tell which one is the one you just did damage to. Right. And you want to focus your damage on one ship so you can take one out. That's one less guy shooting at you.
Right.
You need to be able to lock on to the guy, and so the game will tell you which arrow is the guy you're fighting.
Right.
Because right now, you get a double arrow if they're close to you, but that's not necessarily. Sometimes that's a guy who came in to strafe you, and he's closer than the guy you just shot at and hit. And now you're on another guy who's undamaged. So like you've got all these like 3 damaged guys, and they're all still. You need to concentrate your firepower, and then also the fact that you have to go in your menu and recharge your deflector shield with elements manually is insane.
What's happening live? I know.
Like
it's just there's just tons of quirks like that.
And the other thing is, that's the only thing that's happening in space.
I know. And they couldn't get that right.
That, and there's like shooting asteroids for elements, and otherwise nothing else happens in space other than travel. Yep. And A, there needs to be more stuff to do there, and B, how is it still that rough when that's the only thing you do?
Yeah, the aiming in this game for both on the ground with the mining tool and in space with the ship, I think is just terrible. Like I still never got to a place where I can like really sight something up. Like when I fight stuff with the mining tool, I don't even move the left analog stick. I just strafe left and right because when I do, it just jerks like way out, and I just.
Well, do you have
in space? I can't aim worth a squat. That's why I use the lasers, and it like automatically will lock on if you're within a close distance.
The lasers are pretty good for that. Yeah, I use the proton can. Also, I don't think. Have you switched ships yet? Have you got a new ship at all?
I've shopped but haven't bought.
Okay, so once I got into a new ship, it constantly tells me to use oxides to recharge the photon cannon, which doesn't need to be recharged. The main weapon.
So it's just like a bug, you mean?
It's a bug. It's like clearly at one point you had to use oxides to keep the photon cannon charged, but they must have taken that out, but they never removed the reminder to recharge it.
They never removed the multiplayer mention on the box art.
Whoops.
I'll just put a sticker over it.
I still think that's just, I don't think that works yet. I think they just didn't expect anyone to be, and look, I know this thing is so huge that should be, but like you can do that thing where you scan for other discoveries near you. There's a guy discovering planets like 400 light years from me.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty close.
Yeah.
Like I could get to him in probably a couple hours if I wanted to.
Right.
And not
see him.
Who would
want to do that?
Well, and also his name is like Mauler7843, and I was like, well, you don't have anything to say. So
I think that's another criticism I have of this game is that it is so solitary. Like, the only other humanoid-ish type creatures that you meet are inside the buildings. They never come out of the buildings. Like, you just feel completely alone, and I get that that's kind of a big part of the whole survival game aesthetic, and some people really like that. But it just got boring to me. It's like every planet has the same buildings on it. Like, sometimes they just reconfigure the modules on the buildings.
I actually did make a list of all the things that I think should be
fixed,
upgraded.
All right, let's do it quick, because we're running out of time.
Real quick. And this is speaking as someone who really enjoys this game, right?
Okay.
This is what I think is wrong.
Do it like the Micro Machines guy.
Need to fix the scanning of the flying creatures. Scanning a flying creature is impossible because they move too quickly and erratically. You have to shoot them down and scan their corpse, which is mean. You need to be able to change the color and the name of your ship. There was a ship I really wanted. It had the perfect number of slots. I could afford it, and it was the ugliest yellow color I've ever seen, so I didn't buy it. And it still bothers me. I need to hear radio chatter between starships just to keep the world. I mean, even if it's even if it's just like alien chatter, and then you only understand what you get the words for, the translation, just like the talking to other aliens, like just to keep it fun.
Well, this game makes me feel like us adventuring out into space is just pointless.
Right.
Because there's just nothing.
No one's going to talk to you. There's all these freighters you can look at but do nothing. You can blow them up or you can just fly past them.
We just need to close down NASA now. Like, what is the reason? Why are we doing this?
Also, apparently, everyone who's been through space, all they do is assign one person to sit in a room forever.
Right, yeah.
In various installations around what?
One emote.
I think when you upgrade your ship components, the upgrades should apply to the component and not take up inventory slots because you do not have enough control over your ship inventory slots. Player inventory is fine because you can upgrade that from the drop pods and stuff, but like I have like 48 inventory slots on my character, but I still only have 20 in my damn ship, and I can't waste one on a hyperdrive upgrade right now.
I feel like I'm playing the first Resident Evil a lot of times.
Yeah,
that's not
for
good.
Sure.
Like, that's not a good thing.
And in the same way, you need to be able to stack more stack artifacts, or at least Atlas stones, because the big thing at the center...
They take up a whole slot.
You need 10 of them to do the big thing at the center of the universe, and 10 inventory slots? Fuck you.
Yeah,
like, come on.
I know.
If
you want to spawn another universe that no one will ever see, you need those 10 Atlas stones.
It should be better market interface, because choosing how many units to sell of something takes forever now.
Yeah.
It's like, really, guys? Like, there's no like jump like by tens or hundreds thing.
Well, if you hold it, it'll go faster.
Yeah, but
right?
like it's still that's so why can't I just like use R2 or L2 to jump back? Like we've figured this out, people. Come on. Different architecture on buildings, because I know that there's a whole everyone uses prefab shit, but I should be able to tell what alien is in that building as I approach it. Like
it's just colored.
Like the Viking should look different from the Gek, should look different from the Corvax.
They just have to use colors. That's all they have to do.
They do use colors sometimes, but then the color gets changed because the atmospheres are so weird and vivid. There's the Gek use like green buildings a lot, but you can't tell it's green because the sky's red. It's weird. So I just think they should look more
I agree.
different. Even if it's just like sticking extra stuff on the prefab.
Or just put a spire on top of it.
Yeah.
It's different for each race.
Flag. I mean, I know they have flags, but I haven't been able to piece together whose flag is what. You need to be able to waypoint and see the systems you visited, because that space map is so confusing, and trying to find places you've been without help is impossible.
Yep.
Stuff like that, like you go into there's abandoned buildings that are like overgrown with like weird sentient slime with tentacles and stuff, and you activate the console and you get this weird Lovecraft style kind of like I stare into the abyss of the eye of the red and and I'm like, that's awesome. I love that. I hope they do more with that, like in terms of progressing that like kind of subplot. But why are there only like 5 text things you can get from that? Why aren't there 50?
Then there are like the number sequence puzzles.
Like there's 4 of them and they're all like the most easy thing in the world. Come on, clearly you're good at math. Hello Games. Give me some number lines that I can't figure out by just they're just moving the tens place up. That's silly.
But the fact that we're even mentioning it, to me, just shows how little actual gameplay there is in the game. It's remember, in other games I wouldn't even remember that stupid puzzle. But in this one I remember it because it's one of the few things that I did that was actually memorable.
Right. Well, it's there's little bits in the plaques that tell the history of each alien race. There's great stuff in there. But there's no journal that you can't read all the stuff you've collected so far because there's no. It's like if you were just to drop me context, if I didn't know about No Man's Sky, say you took me from years ago, time traveled me from years ago up here and had me play this game, my main reaction would be wow, I really like this. I can't wait till it's done.
Yeah. I'm feeling that way right now.
And I don't think I don't feel like that's because the procedural generation makes it feel samey or unfinished or sparse. I think it's because I don't think they've done enough to make this game communicate this world. And I know, world is an annoying word to use because there's worlds, these 18 quintillion worlds. But what I mean is this game doesn't do enough to pull you into the setting and make that setting feel real and alive. And I mean, you can't do that so much with the procedural thing, but you can do it with the way you interact. Like, they're doing it with the Monolith stuff. They're doing it with figuring out what the aliens want from things, like piecing together what vocab words you can put together.
Yeah.
They're doing it with certain elements, and I just don't know why that's not more widespread through the whole experience.
Yeah, I got to the point in the game where they basically give you the option of choosing something that will allow you to get to the center of the universe more quickly, and
Yeah.
I took it.
I haven't gotten to that point yet because I'm very slow and I wander around and name everything.
Yeah, I'm pretty much over this playthrough. Like, I don't know, maybe if I boot it up a second time, like, I have a little more luck with stuff, but on the track I'm on right now, like, I'm over it.
And in terms of, like, long-range, like, additions, like I know they're adding freighters, be able to fly. Those freighters better have hangars that I can store other ships in. It better be like the space station dock.
I bet it doesn't.
I bet it doesn't, but like that's a no-brainer to me.
Yeah.
I think the animals need to fit their climates and ecosystems. I would like to have like a cosmic zoo. I can maybe something where I can like pick them, spore style. I can pick them up.
This is way down the list, though,
way
right?
down the list.
Because there's
a lot of other
things that
stuff
need to be fixed.
But I also like the galaxy map. Like I think there's so much more you could do.
It's archaic. Like
It's
I didn't even know how to use it the first 3 times
pretty,
I used it.
But it's not functional.
It took me forever to figure out like how you're supposed to use the damn thing. I'm like going around in circles. I'm like, how do I move the map besides just scrolling around it? Like, it's a fine line. Like there's a fine line between telling you too much and not enough, and this game definitely does not tell you enough.
Oh, and do you know the speed jetpack thing?
Yeah, I know about that.
Because that's key.
Yeah, but I don't think that's like part of the game. I think it's like
that's a glitch,
thing.
But I think it's a glitch like we mentioned rocket jumping with Quake. I think that's a glitch they should keep.
Yeah, for sure.
Because there is a risk reward because the game treats it as falling and you can hurt yourself if you don't
Walking's
do it right.
so damn slow as well. Like their default walking speed
I think they
is
should
so slow.
I think they should double the movement speed.
Yeah,
minimum.
I agree with that. Especially for a game that has that much adventuring in it and wants you to explore.
I mean, adjust the parameters as you see fit to counter that, I guess. But like, you walk too damn slow.
Yeah.
And I say that as someone who likes to walk around and look at all this stuff in this game. But it's like once I have something I want to do, like it just takes too long to get stuff done. And the jetpack jumping helps, but I still feel like I'm doing like a workaround to kind of like make up for the game's shortcoming rather than using a cool trick.
Right. Yep. We got to wrap it up. We're already hitting up on the 3-hour mark for GameFace.
I could keep going.
Oh, I know.
Believe me.
I mean, I honestly thought today when I was putting together the show to just make this whole show just No Man's Sky, because I knew that we would be able to talk about it forever and ever. And I knew at the end of the show we'd have to like cut everything off and like maybe...
I would be. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we'll gauge if people would care, but I would be willing, as I continue to play this, to kind of bring in screenshots or whatever to sort of like be like, here's the thing I found. This, I'll give a No Man's Sky update if you want to watch a crazy person continue to play this like broken game.
I'm sure we'll keep talking about it in future episodes of the show as well. Like,
so
it's gonna be one of those games that keeps popping up. I'm sure.
So it's a weird situation where it's like the game gives me pretty much what I expected and pretty much what I wanted on a very baseline level.
Yeah.
But there's so much potential there, and there's so much that could be better and more polished. I mean, rough around the edges is just the best description.
Yeah, it's one of the more broken games I've played in a while, and it did improve a little bit with the patch, but I've still had a lot of the same problems.
Yeah, well, the patch was more quality of life, I think, than like fixing the big issue, because like I have not had the ship turn on its side again. It looks like I keep having the bug where you take off. Have you had this where you take off and suddenly you're in orbit?
No,
If any part of my ship is clipping through the ground or a terrain object, when I take off, instead of when it flipped on its side and you had to restart, instead of doing that, it will launch into orbit. Like
I've never had that happen.
2 microseconds. You're like up there, and all of a sudden you're like, you're looking down at the planet. Like the planet is like this big in your view screen, and you have to fly back down to where you were. I've had that happen.
Wow, I actually had something not happen to me in a video game.
Well, here's the thing. The fix for that is you just go back to the planet. With the stuff that happens to you, it's like, oh, everything's fucked.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
You have the worst luck.
I do have a really bad luck in glitches in games.
With glitches and bugs and things. Like, that's why I said in the comments, like, are you going to argue with them? No, I'm just going to throw bugs at him. I'm going to throw literal grasshoppers at you.
I get hit with enough already. All right, we got to move on. We do have a trailer of the week this week. Matt and I are both big fans of the original BioShock, and as you guys know, the BioShock remaster is on its way, and this week they put out a trailer to revisit the original game. Here it is.
Not exactly. We We swim in different oceans but land on the same shore. And it always starts with a lighthouse.
I am Andrew Ryan, and I'm here to ask you a question. Is a man not entitled to the sweat of his brow? No, says the man in Washington, it belongs to the poor. No, says the man in the Vatican, it belongs to God. I rejected those answers. Instead, I chose something different. I chose the impossible. I chose rapture.
Still looks great to this day.
Yep. I don't know where I'm gonna try to make time to play the first one at least when that comes out.
I know already I'll never play it. I mean, I played it already.
Well, they're free updates for PC.
Q4 is going to be insane. I'm not going to have time, unfortunately. I'm already starting to schedule out like game evals with freelancers and everything, and just looking at the load and all the other stuff that's going to be going on. Like, I will not have time to go back and replay that game.
I'm gonna try to find time to play the first one.
Yeah.
I love that.
I mean, it's not a really long game.
No, it's not. It's not that bad.
But 12, 14 hours for me is going to be like
at the very least,
lifetime.
I will play up and through the Sander Cohen stuff because that's my favorite part.
Yeah, I love that whole game, like from beginning to end. I wish I could play it again. All right, so we did get some questions. We forgot to tell you guys to send them in, but some of you guys are on it already.
They know.
Yeah, you guys are trained very well at this point. I almost banned Vinaraba. That would be bad. Sorry. Let's see. Here's an easy one. Solo Dolo 241. Shane, any chance of getting some early Madden 17 gameplay impressions up as premium content? Yes.
You're not going to be able to avoid that.
For all 200 of you that actually give a crap.
Is it really that small of an audience for like the Madden stuff?
Probably, yeah. It's not big at all. It's like, it's small, and most of the people who actually watch it are probably the same people who are like in the Sifted Fantasy League. So, but yeah, I'll put something up quick. Maybe it'll be something in Geif though. Maybe I'll just do like a quick preview of it in Geif.
Because I'm kind of like, over the last several years, as the NFL Sundays have become a bigger thing with my little circle of nerd friends. I've been kind of thinking like, if the Madden ever comes out that you say is like, oh, this one's really good, like I might pick one.
Wow, breaking down the walls here on GameFace.
But again, I'm going to need you to tell me that it's good.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't lie to you either. I'll be totally straight up with you. And look, from everything I know about this one, it's probably not the one.
All right.
We'll see,
it hasn't
though.
been for a couple of years.
Yeah. We'll see, though. But yeah, I'll certainly do some kind of a report on Madden for our premium subscribers. I'm probably not going to talk about it here on GameFace because just most of the people who watch this show don't give a squat about sports games, so we try to keep it to a minimum.
And I'm here, too.
Yeah.
It's like, when Madden talk comes, I'm just like, well, I'll just wait.
Let's see, from Nolan Elric, best video game ending of all time. My vote goes to BioShock Infinite.
I think my vote goes to Panzer Dragoon Saga.
Man, I don't even know.
Panzer Dragoon Saga was my favorite game of all time for several years until Shadow of the Colossus knocked it off the top. Shadow of the Colossus also has a good ending, but my favorite is Panzer Dragoon Saga.
Yeah, I think actually Shadow of the Colossus, that's definitely up there.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil anything, but...
But literally, it's up there.
Yeah. Oh, man, that's a tough question.
Because like a lot of games don't have very good endings.
Yeah, they all suck usually.
Bioshock Infinite's a good ending. Bioshock 1 is a good ending.
Bioshock Infinite is really good.
Yeah, and I don't really
got like that 7 kind of thing with the big twist at the end.
I didn't like probably the last third gameplay wise of that game much. I thought it was just too many gunfights. But like that payoff at the end was pretty damn good.
Awesome, yeah.
Suikoden 2 has a great ending.
I don't remember that ending.
That was because like Suikoden 2 is about like it's you and your 2 childhood friends, and one of the childhood friends basically ends up joining the enemy, and like the big thing at the end is sort of like the sort of years later kind of final meeting between everyone, and like if you got invested in the game and the characters, like it was like for a game that was all about like epic, like country altering wars. the fact that the ending still came down to these 3 characters, and that was the most important thing, was like a really... God, I miss JRPGs that were structured like novels.
Yeah.
Like, it was really
I think
good.
the problem with video game endings is that most video game stories suck.
Well, also,
And therefore,
yes,
by
that's the problem.
default, the endings are going to suck because you don't care about them.
And also the fact that the developers know that maybe 20% or less of people are ever going to even see the ending.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like you polish the beginning, and if the ending, you can make the ending good, that's fine, but don't kill yourself, kind of
Yeah.
thing. Oh, Knights! I really like the ending of Knights.
Yeah, I mean,
on
the
Saturn.
endings that I tend to like the most are the ones that are just like interactive in some way, like interactive credits and things like that. Like I like that kind of stuff. That stuff sticks with me longer than a story-driven ending for whatever reason.
I like the ending of Abzu, which I won't. The credits of Abzu.
Yeah,
which
that
I
was
won't-
cool. The ending of Uncharted 4 was kind of cool,
Yeah.
like the epilogue or whatever.
Yeah, the Naughty Dog games always have a strong ending.
Yeah, but in general,
Last
I think
of Us had a great ending for a different reason.
Yeah. It's a big reason why I don't play games for the story.
Yeah.
Because,
also
in my
one-
opinion, like, if I want a story, I just watch a movie.
It's
like,
also one of the reasons that video game movies are probably never going to really
You're absolutely right.
figure it
yeah.
out. Because it's like there's nothing, there's no there.
Let's see. Oh, wow, there's a ton of questions
How
in
about,
here.
Unfashionable, has there been a collector's edition game you were really impressed with?
A collector's edition game?
Yeah.
Like, are they asking about the collector's edition or the game itself?
Collector's edition, I think, probably.
I don't really buy any of that. I haven't bought a collector's edition in 4 or 5 years. I don't buy them.
I'm trying to think. I do have
I've said it before. I have so much swag. Well, not as much now. After I got robbed, they stole a bunch of it. But my closet, I don't own a home. I still rent an apartment at my age. I know it's sad. It makes me cry myself to sleep every night.
Hey, so do I.
Yeah. But
Los Angeles. It's not you can just like go out and find a house for an
Yeah.
affordable amount of money.
And so I have so many closets. In my closets, literally, I am telling you, like I have got step ladders, and they are stacked up to the roof of the closet. I can't take on any more water cupping. I have I have whittled everything down to like the stuff that I just can't feel like I can get rid of, and the rest of the stuff I've given away or dropped off at like Salvation. One day I dropped off 75 video game T-shirts at Salvation Army.
I got to do a T-shirt purge too.
The stack of T-shirts was that high, stacked flat on top of each other. And those were the ones I didn't want. Those were the ones that were like, I will never wear these. Like, I just took them. Like, I was like, oh, I can give them away to people. And then I started thinking about the actual process of giving them away. And I was like, there's 75 shirts here. It'll take a lifetime to give these away. Like, yeah, so I just, honestly, I haven't bought collector's editions in forever. Like,
I'm trying to think what... If I can... I mean,
I would get some sent to me for free. And
Yeah.
so I I got the Black Ops 2 with the RC car. Is that Black Ops 2 or Black Ops 1?
those two with the
Two.
with the drone. Yeah, the RC car, and then 3 was the drone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I got those for free, and I thought those are really freaking cool, man.
Was it
to get like a
advanced
toy that you can actually
Yeah.
play with is awesome. And like, I didn't get it because I don't work at like a huge outlet anymore, and so I'm like on tier 2 now for like products or whatever. But like that little Nuka-Cola mini fridge to me looks freaking awesome. Like,
Yeah.
like I like collector's editions that give you something that you can actually do something with. I like figurines and all that, but once you have so many of them, like you kind of run out of space, and so I like things that actually are like something you can play with and have fun with, or they actually serve like a purpose. Like that fridge, you could put a 6-pack in there, like put it on your desk your desk at work, and keep a 6-pack of soda or whatever. That's the kind of stuff I like.
I like little. I mean, I liked the idea of the Pip-Boy edition of like Fallout 3, but then the one I had some kind of electrical malfunction, and it literally drained the batteries in 5 minutes. Like it would just burn out. Most of the collector's edition these days are like statues, and I don't care about statues, so I don't generally go in on them.
I'll tell you what hurt, though. I just realized the other day that those crooks, they took my Ganado from Resident Evil 4.
Oh, yeah.
I had its sealed Ganado figurine.
Why would you take that?
Dude, the things that they took, it's so random. Like, they took that. I had, like, a Hornblower from Bioshock Infinite figurine. They took that.
I have one of those if you want one back.
But left one of the PCs here. Like, I don't...
Maybe they're Bioshock
can't
fans.
even.
I don't know.
I doubt it.
They
Probably had kids,
Yeah.
and they're like, I'll give this Ganado from Resident
Ganado
Evil
and
4.
a boy of silence to like Happy birthday, son.
I hope their kid has a horrible birthday. I hate to say that, but
I think when I think of like collector's edition, I think back to stuff like Lunar 1 and 2, Lunar Silver Star and Lunar Eternal Blue on the PS1, and like stuff that like the old Working Designs collector's editions that were just like it came with a bunch of extra stuff and it was a fun little thing. It wasn't really an extra expense as much. It didn't cost $40 more than the normal game. It was just like, hey, if you love the thing, and that was a standard edition for Working Designs, but it was like. Just a little extra stuff, like some of the current like Weird Exceed games do that now too, where it's you get like a little art book. Anything with a full-size hardcover art book is good. And I didn't like BioShock 2 very much, but I did like its collector's edition because it came with a vinyl copy of the BioShock 1 soundtrack. So I guess that would be one of my picks.
Here's one from Tyler 56721. Shane, don't you think that even if you had all the resources you ever needed in No Man's Sky, that there just isn't enough to do and you would get bored? No. That has honestly been one of the major points of contention for me with the game is the resources and the lack thereof at certain points. I don't even know that I've been bored playing the game. Pissed off is probably the better way to describe it.
Do you think that you should have like a little ground vehicle?
Would
that
nice.
be good, or would you?
That would be awesome.
You don't think that would break the game?
Here's what I think they should.
I don't think it would, but I'm just.
No, I don't think they would at all. But what they should do is they should just get rid of the resource needed to leave the planet.
Like I get
that solves like so many problems. Because the game encourages you to just go from outpost to outpost, and every time it charges you like fuel to get off the ground. It's like if they just got rid of that, it would fix a ton of problems.
It has gotten, or at least like. Give it more. On the pre-patch version, it was 2 takeoffs.
Yeah, you're right.
2 takeoffs for a full charge. Now it's 4.
It's 4. Yeah, they adjusted it.
But like, you could probably go further than that. And like, I have a giant supply of plutonium I keep on hand at all times just in case.
I mean, just the fact that they tweaked that shows that they figured out that like this is screwing people.
If you hadn't played the pre-patch version. The pre-patch version's launch thrusters, it was 2 takeoffs per full charge, and the warp engine was 1.
1, I know.
And now it's like 6 or 7.
I think they're going to keep heading in the direction.
I feel like maybe not the next whatever the next big update is. I feel like they're going to incorporate a bunch of feedback from players, and I hope they do. Like I feel like it's going to suddenly become almost overnight like a better game to play. Moment to moment, maybe not. It might not solve the problem if someone's like, "Oh, every building's the same." Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, yeah, every observation post is the same. Every transmission tower is the same. Every manufacturing plant's the same. I seem to already have all the blueprints.
Every depot's the same. Trading posts the same.
What's the point of the depots?
I don't know.
It's like, do you really need titanium that badly?
Even the trading
posts. And if you do, how are you going to find a depot in time?
Like the trading posts have the module where you can buy and sell stuff, and like you can buy ships there.
Well, the other thing I don't get is like, there's no way to find the things you've already found. That's like probably one of my biggest quality of life things is like, why can't if there's a place I like, or a planet I like, or a star system I like, or even a building I like. That's the same
why
as
can't I mark it?
Why can't I go through something and find like, oh, that or like even if it's like, I find a depot, I don't need titanium. Like 30 minutes later, I found a blueprint, and I'm like, it needs titanium. There's no titanium crystals on this planet, but I know there was a depot.
Yeah.
Why can't I find that depot and go back?
Or if the scanner would just show you where every element is instead of just showing just the groups of elements. If it actually showed you what each one was, like that would be a huge. There's so many easy ways to fix the problem.
Even if it was an upgrade to say it's like a programming thing for the scanner where you can say, like, I want gold, find gold, only highlight gold, and like. Why can't it do like?
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Here's one. How can I already have all the blueprints for my multi-tool when there's so many other ideas for how the multi-tool could function that even you and I could sit here and come up with in 10 minutes? Like, I know they had a lot of game to make, and there's only like 14 people on the team, but like, I wonder. Again, there's so much stuff it's so in like 2 years this game could be amazing. But right now, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Sorta?
It's a cool game.
It's cool,
it's just annoying to play.
But it's like, I have a couple friends asking me, like, oh, should I get this thing? I'm like,
I honestly wouldn't recommend
I'm
it.
like, I have a disc copy and a digital copy. I'm like, you know what? Next time I'm up north, I'm going to bring my disc copy and you can play it and decide for yourself. Because it's like, I don't know how to recommend this game.
It's hard. Let's move on. Here's a quick one for you. Hidokirio3, what is your GAF username, Matt?
Matt Kyle.
There you
It's
go.
literally my name.
That's an easy one.
Yeah, I post them under my real name on Gap.
Here's one
Probably
from
a bad idea, but
Unfashionable. Xbox One outsold PS4 last month. First time since October of last year. Do you think Microsoft can succeed by just cutting prices and releasing new models of hardware versus first-party investment? I don't think them outselling PlayStation 4 last month means anything.
No.
It means nothing. It just means they put out a hot new piece of hardware that's going to get its little bump for a month, and then it's going to go away.
Yeah.
And PlayStation 4 will win next month.
And then the Neo will probably sell just as well. So.
Yeah, exactly. Or better.
Or better, yeah.
Oh, boy.
Live stream where we play No Man's Sky together. Nobody wants to see that.
Well, you can't really play it together.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, you can't even see each other.
Yeah, I mean, I think they mean like in the same room
I know,
or whatever. But one thing, watching someone play No Man's Sky is one of the most boring things you can ever do.
Well, that might also be funny because that reminds me of there's an old Penny Arcade where like Tycho is waiting in line for like something at E3 and like Gabe keeps coming. It's like they're giving out free money at the Ubisoft booth. Like sorry, they're all out. Oh, I got a free Wavebird. He comes back riding a dragon. And,
yeah,
like,
I
Tycho's
remember
just
that
like,
one.
Yeah,
see, that's when Penny Arcade comics were memorable.
Yeah,
like,
but I think that's what it would be like. Cause it's like you'd be sitting there and be like, I can't get out of the canyon. I can't get out of the hole I'm in. And I'm just like, I just found God. He gave me a new ship. It's got 40 inventory slots. He's like, you just fuck off. Like.
Oh, wait, someone's saying those were July numbers. Xbox One S came out on August 2nd. Just saying. That's from Bumblue. Lots of new people on the stream tonight. Welcome, everyone. Hope you guys have enjoyed the show. I've never seen Bumblue in here before. At least you haven't commented. Maybe you're a lurker. Is that right? It came out on the 2nd?
Did it?
I guess maybe the price cuts. Because they bought them at the price with the Xbox One S coming.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why he was saying, can price cuts? Now I understand the question. Okay. So can price cuts make a difference? No, because they're just getting rid of their old inventory to replace it with the Xbox One S. And there's just tons of inventory sitting on shelves that they're trying to get rid of. Let's find one more.
How about Gyno Mike asks, Divinity Original Sin is a super amazing game, totally underrated, not played by the masses. Any game you believe more people should play? Divinity Original Sin is a really good choice for that, I might add. That is a great game that people have not played.
Tribes. There's still no shooter like it. People should freaking play it. As I watch all these modern shooters trying to become Tribes, when Tribes was around in the Voodoo 2 era, I will say a couple times playing No Man's Sky, I felt like I was looking at a game from the Voodoo 2 era.
Yeah, it has that. It's like that's what I said about like watching Titanfall 2 today. I was like, oh, games can look so good.
Yeah,
it's like
I love
the art style of No Man's Sky, but it's like
Voodoo 2 couldn't do that, by the way.
No.
It's better than a Voodoo 2.
But I know what you mean. That it's that kind of like
bare ground with little tufts of grass coming out. Yeah.
And like like with that, every once in a while you can see where the polygons meet.
Yeah.
They got to fix the water in No Man's Sky. The water is like very visibly polygon.
I don't know if they can fix that stuff.
Well, they said they're working on water planets for the next update to fix it up more. But like, the planets don't rotate. The water doesn't flow. The things you mine just float there. There's no physics on the rocks. It's very weird. But there's physics on other things. What's that about? Like when you destroy a Sentinel, it drops a little container, and when you destroy an Omegon, like floating rock thing, it drops like boulders that roll around. You have to destroy.
My guess is processing hits too much.
I guess
they have to pick and choose their battles. Okay, last question. This one's for you, Matt.
What?
This one's from Dragon Slayer 91. Actually, I think it's from Vinaraba originally. Can we get a small premium show where Matt showcases some of his No Man's Sky gameplay and updates?
Maybe. I mean. Depends how long I play it. I right now I'm into it, but like by next week I could be like, yeah, I'm kind of done for now. You don't know. I don't know. But
Thea Brand points out No Man's Sky doesn't use polygons; it uses voxels.
Oh, right, voxels.
Good call.
I saw there was an article you curated today about it. It's like, are voxels the future?
Yeah, from Digital Foundry. Probably not. If this is what we're gonna get, probably not. All right, we got to call it there.
I'm still holding out for ray tracing.
Yeah.
Which I was told during the development of Desert Strike was the next big thing.
And Perfect Dark on the N64, by the way. We got to call it a night. It's been a 3-hour show. I knew this one was going to be long. We tried to get through as much as possible. I tried to get through all the early topics quick because I knew No Man's Sky was going to take up a lot of time.
We're not good at quick.
Yeah, I guarantee you we'll talk about No Man's Sky again. And maybe I can get Matt to just record some stuff with Shadowplay or something on your PC.
Yeah, I should be able to. I mean, I have fraps. I can just do that.
Yeah, but whatever. Put it together. Maybe we'll get someone to cut it or whatever, make it nice and polished or whatever, but we'll try to get something together for you guys.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I am taking a lot of pictures and videos on my PS4 of it, just as I find things and see things, which is actually, like, I've never used that feature that much on the PS4, but I'm doing it on this because I feel like I'm never going to see anything again. Like, I figure eventually they'll add in a way to get, there is a way to kind of half-assedly get back and see the stars you've discovered and named, but, like, it's not reliable enough for me to believe I'll ever get back here again. So, like, I'm kind of like, well, I'm going to take pictures and videos to remember all these videos.
It's just a share button and you're there.
And I named a System X play, and all the planets are named after Morgan and Adam and all the characters and stuff. And I was I took, before I left, I just sort of panned in the ship across all the different planets, and I was like, this is the X play system. And then I warped out. I'm just like, I may never see it again because their interface is garbage.
Yeah.
But, like, I hope they fix that, but I'm I'm documenting the trip very thoroughly because I feel like I'm never going to see this stuff again if they don't get off their ass and make the galaxy map usable.
Oh, pull up the shirt one last time before we go. We showed off one of the shirts right when we first started the stream. I know some of you guys got on late, so I want to show it to you again. That's one of the color combinations for this shirt design. There's another color combination, and then there's two other shirt designs.
You can see it's shiny.
2 combinations, yeah. And flip it around on the back. So there you go. I see someone asking when they're going on sale. You have to ask Brent that. He needs to build the store. But I have boxes and boxes of these things sitting around that I've already paid for. So hopefully it doesn't take too long before we get the store up and so we can sell them.
Father Brent.
I see Nolan Elric. Tribes 1 and 2 were amazing. You know it. So that's going to do it. Thanks to everybody who was on there. I saw a bunch of new people on the stream tonight. Welcome. Hopefully you guys had a good time. We are here every Thursday at 7 p.m. Also, you might want to actually check out sifted.net. It's a pretty cool website from what I hear. So that's it for us. Thanks to everyone who stayed up in Europe. As always, we always appreciate you guys. Thanks to everybody, even you East Coasters, because it's freaking late out there right now. Hell, it's late here right now. Yeah. So thanks to everyone who stayed on the stream. Thanks for everyone who stopped in. We love you guys. Everyone have a great weekend. GameFace is up and out.